Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission meeting for March 10, 2020. I would like to remind everybody to please silence all electronic devices at this time. And if we could please all rise for the pledge and invocation.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey. Here. District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Here.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Here. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for public comments. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any item coming before the board during this public comment section. The board also takes public comment on items to be placed on a future board agenda or other business under their purview. Public comment for public hearing items are taken during those individual public hearing items beginning at 1:30 p.m. today. It is requested that when you address the board, that comments are not directed personally against any commissioner or team member, but rather directed at the issues. This provides mutual respect between the board members and the public. If you do so, I will give you a warning. After that, you'll be dismissed. Individuals speaking during public comment will be given 3 minutes to speak. After stating your name and address for the clerk, the timer located on the podium will start a countdown. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound. The light on the timer will change from green to yellow, letting you know that only 1 minute remains. After the time is up, 2 beeps will sound. The light on the timer will change from yellow to red, indicating that the 3 minutes are up, and you should close your comments at the time. Madam Clerk, we have a couple people signed up to speak. If we can...
do. We have 2 people. If you would both line up at the podium in this order, Nathan LaPointe and Mary Golden.
Good morning. Name and address for the record, please.
Nathan LaPointe, address is 8534 Tidal Bay Lane, Tampa, Florida, 33635.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I purchased a property in Dade City at 15137 Pinellas Avenue. I did the impact fee research, and when I did the impact fee research over at the county office here, they basically told me that there was no impact fees due on the property, that there was a property that was already built there previously that had been demoed in 2008. I went ahead and demoed the lot, got it ready for development, took out the permit, and come to find out there was actually impact fees due on that property of $12,477. So I talked with the impact fee research people, Catherine Tubbs over in Dade City across the street, and she told me that the impact fees, I guess somehow it didn't get together in the system, so I gave her all the paperwork that I did from the impact fee research and the appraisal department, and they told me that there was no impact fees due on that property, so I went ahead and proceeded development. I developed the property, got it ready for sale, went to close out the permit, and come to find out that the impact fees are still due, that she, I guess somebody in another department overrode her decision and took those impact fees off. I went up to several different departments through the zoning, the building officials. I actually went and spoke with Ron Oakley a couple days ago. I sent a check to them just because I didn't want to pay it, but I sent them a check. For some reason, the check didn't go through, so I got a letter from basically, I think it's Nikki Alvarez's office, stating that I was going to be sued for 3 times the amount face value of the check. So I actually came back to the office and brought them a cashier's check and a bank letter from my bank stating that there was over $200,000 in the account that they could pull from the $12,400. They didn't accept the payment. They said that they wanted basically an $800 fee, and I'm just here to take care of it. I have a voicemail from Catherine Tubbs stating that the impact fees are not due, and I've already sold the property. So I just need to get this taken care of, so that way it's not on my record and it doesn't affect the current buyers that bought the property.
Give me 1 second.
While he's doing
Hold
that,
on, hold on.
I have a question. Can I ask him a question?
Let me go to the county attorney real quick.
So if he's paying it would be, and it's the clerk's office,
What kind of impact fees?
It's a building impact fees. I have the paperwork if you guys want to take a look at it.
You certainly don't have to pay school impact fees, huh?
we can't make that determination up here, that's what I'm asking
Well,
the county
no,
attorney.
there's already a house there, and you rebuild a house. You
So,
don't repay school.
Commissioner,
So this is the first time I'm hearing about this particular item. I would assume that, is Todd here? I mean, Development Services would be over whether the impact fees were collectible. It sounds like from what the clerk has said, there was while there might be funds in the account, there was a stop payment on the check. So if he is trying to make payment on the impact fees, it would either be through our cashiers or directly to the clerk of the court.
I was just wondering what kind of impact fees, that's all.
It's the building impact fees. It was $12,477, but the issue is that the impact fees were not due. So there was already a home there, and from the property appraiser's office, I have basically a form showing that in 2007, there was a home built there that the county demolished. They paid to have it demolished, and I did the impact fee research, and I also have that paperwork saying that there's no impact fees due. When I purchased the property, I also purchased the property from a respected real estate agent that's in Dade City, Bobby Wellborn.
okay,
And,
Mr. Biles, who can we direct this gentleman to at this time?
We get Todd.
Is Todd here?
Yeah, Todd's here.
So I'm going to direct you to Mr. Bailey. And he's going to come up and walk with you outside to have this conversation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
We don't have building.
Todd, David's in the back if you
We
need.
have transportation impact fees.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Name and address for the record, please.
I live adjacent, I'm on Mary Golden, and I live adjacent to the Banjo Lake villas that are being proposed on Banjo, at the end of Banjo Lake Road, which is a dead-end road.
Ms.
And
Golden?
I just want to voice my concerns, and I hope that y'all will consider them before issuing a permit. I would like to have a concrete wall, as all the other subdivisions around there have concrete walls to block the noise, keep the level down. They already started cutting down some of the trees, but the county stopped them. They were just going, and the noise was very bad. Banjo Lake Road is already over-trafficked, as well as, Bell Lake Road is already over-trafficked, as well as Collier Parkway and US 41. So I'm wondering how I'm ever gonna be able to get back out of, I feel like I might be held hostage in my home. And we'd like to have, I'm speaking to some of my neighbors too, street lights to go up at night to help light the road, because it's really dark there at nighttime. Wonder if my taxes is gonna be going up to help pay for this. I would like to have a designated doggy park for the dogs. I don't want my climate change happening in my yard and on my property. And Banjo Lake Road is only a 25-acre lake. And so the motorized, I'd like to have the motorized vehicles, water vehicles restricted so that the noise level is kept down that way. And I wonder if SwiftMud has done an evaluation about keeping the water contained on their property so that it doesn't flood all of my neighbors and myself. And that's my concerns. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Golden. And just for the boards, Ms. Golden and I spoke ahead of time, and I brought Mr. Tippin up, and Mr. Tippin is going to keep her updated on the site plans and when those are submitted, and help her through the process so she understands. So
Thank you very much.
thank you. Good to see you. Anybody else want to speak to the board? I don't have anybody else signed up. Go ahead. Name and address for the record when you come up, please. Anybody else want to speak to the board? I'd ask you to line up behind this gentleman here. All right, seeing none, he will be the last speaker this morning. Good
My
morning.
name's Rob Park. I live at 9614 Aaron Cutoff. I'm here to address your item C13 that you're going to be voting on. Before voting to approve that change, I believe it should be amended. There are 12 references to collector, and there is no definition of a collector, and I believe that should be added to eliminate confusion. The confusion is about Aaron Cutoff and Land O'Lakes. Aaron Cutoff is a collector road. Aaron Cutoff is being used for through traffic between two arterial roads, State Road 51 and US 41. In the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 7, the transportation element, in the technical support document on page 20, It states the collectors serve as connecting links between local streets and arterials within neighborhoods. Collectors do not form a continuous network and generally discourage through traffic. That's not the case with Aaron, and if you're going to be setting up new guidelines for how whoever uses this form that you're going to vote on, they need to be aware that collector roads are not through roads. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that ends public comment. Give me 1 second here. We do have a resolution, and I can get to my book back to where it's supposed to be. Okay, RS1, that's gonna be heard after consent, so we do have, Commissioner Wells, yours is on consent too, your resolution, I see?
I believe that
Or do you have something?
Tina's here just to get a, she is here.
So you'd like to
Just
do
so
it
we
here?
get a picture with the board, yes.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and move, pull C1 off consent and make that a regular agenda item for the resolution.
That's my motion.
Okay, I need a motion. Second. I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, C1 is pulled. Now a regular agenda item. Commissioner Wells, would you like to say anything before Ms.
Tina, if you wanted to come forward, I had the opportunity to go out and thank all the volunteers last week, and, I know it meant a lot to them, but I know that Tina, that way she can get a picture with the board if you just want to stand up there, and we'll
Yep.
have her read it, and then if you want to say something real quick, we'll get a
Yeah.
picture,
So Ms. Alvarez, if you can please read that.
please.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 20-089, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, recognizing the American Red Cross volunteer heroes in Pasco County, and hereby dedicates the month of March 2020 to the American Red Cross and its volunteers and donors. Whereas the Red Cross is a humanitarian organization that prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies in Pasco County, in the United States and around the world, by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. And whereas the Red Cross aspires to turn passion into action so that all people affected by disaster receive care, shelter, and hope. And whereas 90% of the Red Cross workforce are volunteers from local areas in states and countries around the world. And whereas when last year major disasters like hurricanes and floods devastated families' lives in other parts of the country, 40 volunteers from Pasco County were among the nearly 9,000 American Red Cross volunteer workers who left their homes to work alongside other American Red Cross volunteers, partners, and employees to provide refuge, food, relief items, emotional support, recovery planning, and other assistance. And whereas through its national home fire campaign, the American Red Cross works with its partners to prevent fire tragedies. In 2019, the American Red Cross installed 2 millionth free smoke alarms in Pasco County in conjunction with the Pasco County Emergency Management Division and the City of Newport Richey's Fire and Emergency Services Department. The American Red Cross has installed 398 free smoke alarms in 210 homes, making those homes safer from the threat of home fires. In addition, the American Red Cross gave $65,612 to assist victims after home fires in Pasco County. There were 108 home fires, and the American Red Cross helped 307 people with food, lodging, and provided recovery support. And whereas the Red Cross is a volunteer relief movement, not prompted in any manner by desire or gain. And whereas the American Red Cross is part of the world's largest volunteer network and depends on and is powered by the devotion of volunteers, the generosity of donors, and the partnership of community organization. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby recognizes the American Red Cross volunteer heroes in Pasco County and hereby dedicates the month of March 2020 to the American Red Cross and its volunteers, donors, and partners. Done and resolved in regular session with a quorum present and voting this 10th day of March 2020.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Vice Chairman Wells.
Would you like to say a couple
Yes,
things?
thank you so much. Commissioner Wells did come out and speak to our volunteers, which means a lot to them. We do have quite a few volunteers that work in Pasco County, and we're really proud to be here, and we have great partnerships, so we appreciate
Great,
your help
thank
with
you.
that. Thank you.
Commissioner.
Just come down and get a picture real quick, if you don't mind, board members. I felt bad, we didn't have one on the agenda, we had to have one.
Yeah, we only have one, it's one after the consent. We only have two.
More.
Come over here.
Good, how are you? Thank you. Thank you so much. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. And just really quickly, sorry, on April 17th, we're going to be doing a large fire alarm install in Zephyr Hills. So I sent information to all of you, and if anybody's interested in coming out, we'd love to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We gotta see the results of the investigation.
Okay. Now we'll go back to consent. I have C1, which is pull and discuss, C12, pull and revise, C48, pull and revise, C56, pull and revise, C57 is a withdrawal, and we just had C10 added, pull and revise. Commissioners, do you have anything else you'd like to pull?
Move remaining consent items.
Second?
And apologize, we did go ahead and pull C1 off, so that is a withdrawal, and if you can restate your motion, please.
Okay, with C1 being withdrawn.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you. So let's go to C12. It sounds like there's a train coming through here. Hold on one sec. There we go.
That was weird.
Yeah, no.
Thank you,
C12, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nectarios Pitos, Planning and Development. C12 is the Highway Landscape Maintenance Agreement between the Gulf Coast Highway Road Maintenance Organization of Pasco County. The pull and revise is due to Exhibit A, Part 5 of 10. It had some missing pages during the scanning process, so we revised C12, Exhibit A, Part 5 and 10, and submitted that to the clerk and to the BCC earlier. So,
Questions?
Move to approve.
Have a motion? Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you. C48.
Good morning, Mike Carballa, Public Infrastructure. On item C48, there was a difference in the number of pages on what was scanned into Sire versus the actual. That's been corrected and with your packages.
Commissioners?
Move approval. Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you. C56.
Good morning, Curtis Franklin, Parks, Rec, and Natural Resources. The pull and revise was to correct the date for the continuing services contract with Coastal Design.
Move approval with another change. Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same
Aye.
sign, motion passes. Thank you. C57.
Withdrawn.
Withdrawal. C10 was added. Mr. Engel?
Good morning, Commissioners. David Engel, Office of Economic Growth. C10 is a pull and revise specifically related to the revision to the signature page to properly place the clerk's attest.
Move approval. Second.
I have a motion, I have a second over here, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes, thank you so much. Can somebody close the doors on the side for me, please? So Commissioners, we do have, we're gonna back up again and go to RS1 because that needed to be heard after consent, after this was approved. So I would think I'm calling the chief up at this time. Come on up, chief. And before we read the resolution, I'll wait for everybody to get up. Sorry, just give me 1 second. I'm going to let the clerk read the resolution, and we'll go from there. Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could read the resolution, please.
Okay. Resolution number 20-088, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, recognizing Chickadance, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what is it?
Yeah, you said it right.
Okay, I'm going to stick with what I said. It's fun to say. Brothers Hammock Pines LTD for its generous donation of 3.805 acres for a new fire rescue station to improve the emergency service capabilities in the eastern portion of Pasco County. Whereas with the continued increase in population and economic growth, Pasco County is quickly becoming Florida's premier county. And whereas, as a result of the growing population, Pasco County Fire Rescue is seeing an increased demand for emergency services in the eastern portion of the county. And whereas Pasco County finds that it would be in the best interest of the public to have a fire rescue station located in the eastern portion of the county. And whereas Chickadance Brothers Hammock Pines LTD is the owner of a 3.805 acre undeveloped parcel along State Road 54 in eastern Pasco County. And whereas Chickadance Brothers Hammock Pines LTD has generously agreed to donate their parcel to Pasco County Fire Rescue for use as a fire rescue station, and whereas as said parcel is in an ideal location for a new fire rescue station to provide critical emergency response services to the residents of eastern Pasco County. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby extends its gratitude and recognition to Chickadance Brothers Hammock Pines LTD for its generous donations of land to the citizens of Pasco County, done and resolved this 10th day of March 2020.
I need a motion?
Move approve.
I have a motion, second. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you. Well, good morning. And we, obviously, Chief, I'll let you speak, but we very much appreciate your donation, and thanks for everything you're doing in the community. As our county continues to grow, obviously, we're going to continue to need more fire rescue stations throughout the county. So anytime we have somebody like yourself that's willing to donate that land, obviously, it's a benefit to our taxpayers, and we do thank you for that. So thank you so much. Chief, do you have anything you'd like to say first?
Well, thank you, Commissioners, and thank you, EMS. We enjoy as a business doing Pasco and have been for quite some time, and we are proud of being able to make just a small contribution to make the county a better place. And we also want to thank the EMS for simply being there for all of us. And as a father of a current EMS student trying to become an EMS worker, I know a little bit about the difficulties that you all face, and so we're just happy to be able to do this for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair.
Chief, okay, the chief, we'll go to you.
Okay.
Yeah, Scott Casson, Fire Chief, Pasco Fire Rescue. So we wanted to bring Mr. Schickdance up here and publicly thank him for the incredibly generous donation. And they're speaking our music again out there. But where the station is going to go, where this site is located, is an ideal location because it's going to serve so many people. From Zephyr Hills.
We planned that.
I'm sorry?
The background.
The sirens.
That was a plan.
They're right on time. I told them, I said 10:20, I should be behind the mic, so, yeah. But, Zephyr Hills, Watergrass Community, Meadow Point, it's just and Wesley Chapel, of course, it's just in a great location. It's going to serve so many people. And the station that's going to be built on that property is one of the 9 fire stations that was approved through the GEO bond funding that the taxpayers approved last year. So we're very excited to be able to move forward with that particular facility, which will be known eventually as Fire Station number 3. It's going to be Station 44 for a little while because that's what it was on the paperwork when we first submitted it. But Station 3, we're very excited to finally now have a place to put it. So we're very thankful to the Schickdance family for that donation. And thank you to our real planning folks too for working through the deal. But we do have a small token of our appreciation. This is a small plaque that we're going to present to you today. Again, expresses our gratitude for the generosity of your family and the donation that's going to help so many people here in Pasco. And then when the facility is built, we're going to certainly invite you and your family out to the grand opening. And there's going to be a similar plaque that'll be hung up in the lobby of the facility to commemorate the property that was donated back in 2020. So on behalf of all the men and women of Fire Rescue, certainly, and all the men and women or the citizens of Pasco County that are going to benefit from your donation, we're very grateful and thank you again.
Thank you. So don't leave. Don't leave. We still, Commissioner Starkey, and then we're going to come down. We actually have a resolution we'd like to give you too that's framed from the board. So.
Well, since Gunther's one of my best friends, I can't not say anything.
Yeah.
But that's Gunther Flagg, and his partner is Wally Schickadance, and his wife is Susie Chickadance flag, so just to get that straight on the record, because he called you Mr. Chickadance.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. I didn't
That's
know who he was
okay.
when I first got here. I knew they were in the audience, but.
And Gunther's also my appointee to the BPAC, and he's very diligent about going to the meetings, and he's a great member. So Gunther, I just want to thank you and the family for donating this, and I know Pasco County is a big place in your heart, and your families as well. So thank you so much. We're very grateful.
So we're going to head down, and we would like to give you this resolution, and we'll take a couple photos too. Squeeze in here and hold this one up, stay right next to me there. You have two now. Good to see you. There, here, can you hold that one in one hand and put your other hand on this one? There we go. That'll work. And then let me hide these real quick. Here, I got some extras for you for your partners. Everybody look up. Do you have? Good. Wait, we got one more. You got it? We're good? Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Here, take this, and then there's a couple extras, so I know you have some partners too. Good deal. Have a great. Thank you. Thanks for your good work. Okay. How are we doing on time? 10:30? Okay, we're doing good.
The addendum would be considered by the motion for the consent agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a couple items. I'm going to move something here, it looks like, just in case we go into the afternoon, because we do have some guests. So I'm going to move R5 to the beginning. R5. So we will go ahead and move forward with R5, and then we'll start back with R1. R5, that's the United Way. So Public Services, do we have a representative from Public Services that would like to make this introduction? Or are we going to go straight to the United Way? Thank you. So go ahead and read off the item, please.
Kathy Pearson, Assistant County Administrator, Public Services, and yes, I am proud to introduce Mr. Chuck Anderson, who is the President and CEO of the United Way of Pasco County, and since his leadership has been a little bit over a year now, I believe, it has really skyrocketed and doing some great things, so hopefully he will share that with you. And we have our chair here of the board, the United Way Board, Mr. Mike Napier, who is the Health Department Administrator. So with that, Mr. Chuck.
Okay, so R5 is United Way Community Impact Update. There's no
Okay.
funding required this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioners and other officials. Just want to give you a quick update on the status of United Way, and also give you an overview of how the $250,000 that you invest in the community each year through United Way is doing. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see that last year, I don't know, do I push that on my end? I do. Oh, there we go. There is, when we went to fund the agencies, there was a request of about $1.8 million, and we had about $1 million, including the county funds, to allocate to these agencies. And several of the issues that the board more recently has taken up in terms of making priorities, including trafficking, which is a major issue in the community, opioids, as we know. You're familiar with the ALICE study that's done through our state organization, which shows that about 46% of our citizens in Pasco live on the edge of poverty. They're one internal crisis, a hospitalization or other, from going into poverty. So it's very important that we continue to keep our eye on that ball and invest in agencies that are doing something about that challenge as well. And on the next slide, which talks a little bit about history, again, the county has historically for quite a few years now invested in United Way Pasco County. And part of the reason for that is that we've been seen as an impartial allocator of funds, and that lessens the pressures and duress on the county itself and county commission, and utilizes the citizen review process, which is very thorough and impartial in terms of making sure that funds are allocated to the most pressing needs of the community. I want to note that in the time that the funds have been invested in United Way, we've never used any of it for overhead or administrative costs. We also are involved in funding a couple of other items that you're familiar with. 211, which is free information referral services for all citizens of Pasco County. That is a United Way funded service. VITA, which is voluntary income tax assistance, and that helps people get free refund, does free tax preparation, and those funds come back to benefit people who otherwise may not have money to pay for their rent or pay for food or other household items. And of course, we partner with the Human Service Department to distribute about $50,000 of funds that this board makes available, in addition to the $250 in the community. And I'm going to give you a quick update on the next slide about who is United Way. We have a great board. They provide tremendous oversight and due diligence. You already are familiar with the chair, Mike Napier, who I commend, who's working so hard right now with the coronavirus issue that's being challenging our community. I'm grateful for him to be here today representing the board of directors. Commissioner Wells, we're very grateful for your membership as a board member, tremendous input and guidance to the community. Kathy, who also provides the same, and then you can see some of the other people as well. We have a team of about 6 staff members that are involved in providing administrative support. And then if you go to the next slide, you'll take a look at performance. The performance of the organization, overall, last year we funded 41 agencies and 52 programs. 100 volunteers were involved in allocating these funds. Again, impartial community volunteers who look objectively at the needs in the community and allocate those funds. $1.8 million in requests, $1 million available in funding to leverage the $250,000 that your very generous support provides to us. We get 6-month reports, and so I'm a couple months away right now from getting a report. I'll come back with the data very shortly. We do annual conferences to confirm that the money is well spent. And I want to emphasize the fact that funding is performance-based. It's year to year, and we discourage dependency of agencies on United Way in terms of funding. And then the next slide speaks to future. We've expanded our priorities, as I referenced a little bit earlier in the presentation, to include substance abuse, trafficking, mental health, amongst other items. We are just currently issuing, we have a conference Friday with existing partner agencies to review the request for proposals for this year's funding. We are meeting with an additional group of agencies on Monday, new agencies who are not existing partner agencies, to give them an opportunity to be considered as well. The campaign seems to be progressing well. We're waiting on results. We believe there will be a slight uptick in the campaign, and we're looking forward to the future in terms of improving on that as well. We are very committed to an aggressive campaign to close the gap and meet community needs. And of course, with the growth of the county, those needs aren't necessarily diminishing, but we're going to do our part to make sure that any gaps are met for citizens who are faced with urgent requirements from a social service perspective. Next page gives you a complete rundown. I won't spend a lot of time on this other than to say, if you take a look at it, it talks about our contribution, meaning United Way, the county contribution, and the total funds per agency, and it gives you a rundown of the 40 agencies who were funded this past cycle by United Way. And as I said, we're in the process now of putting out a request for proposals, and we'll be reviewing those agencies in the coming months. And as I said, I'll give you an update once I get the 6-month information shortly. Thank you. Thank you for your investment in this United Way. Thank you for the investment that you make in these agencies in the community who work so hard. And I witnessed it up close and personal. They work so hard to meet those needs in the community. And I'm here to answer any questions, should you have any.
Commissioner Wells?
Well, if I could just say, Chuck, I mean, you know, the short period of time you've been here, we've come a long way. You know, each one of these board members works very hard to vet these folks, and I know when we were going over the funding, you know, we adjusted some things and challenged some people, but ultimately this board, you know, with Mike's leadership now, I mean, and we appreciate what you do. It does make it easier, because I remember when I first got on the board with Commissioner Moore, we had to get up here, and all these folks are hitting us. We only see them one time a year, but they're here in front of us to hit us up for money, and it was difficult. So it's nice that you're able to vet them, hold them accountable with reporting through your system, which I believe is going to be updated soon as well. So just, again, I think the more transparent you are with the board, I know you've been meeting with them to kind of update them, I think it's the better, because you're doing a lot of things with the funding that we are giving you. There's a lot of people are being helped in Pasco County because of it, so.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Mariano?
Yes, Mr. Dennis, I'd like to thank you as well. The meeting we had yesterday was great. The work you're doing is great in the community, and I appreciate your taking a look at and calling the rope centers we talked about.
Right. Homeless
Shelter's doing a great job that hasn't been on the list, so appreciate you reaching out to them as well.
Right.
Thank you.
Very good.
Anybody else?
Just great job.
Okay. Thank you.
Great job. I been able to sit with you and talk to you about all the issues and all the great job of all the agencies you've been able to make accountable for what that money is used for, and throughout our counties. It's been great. I think since you've gotten there, you've done great leadership in that process, and have a lot of good people working with you. Thank you.
Well,
Okay, thanks for being here. I know we're rescheduled. You were on the west side, I was on the east side that day, unfortunately.
But we will meet, so
Yeah,
thank
I think
you
we're
all very
rescheduled.
much for your kind support and generous support.
Thank you for the
And,
update.
We're
We
committed
appreciate
to
it.
doing our part to make Pasco even greater than it is today. Thank you.
All right, thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay, again, there's no action required, so we will move backwards now to R1. That is Commissioner Mariano, if I'm not correct.
Yes, sir. I want to say the team does a phenomenal job with the cleanups that we do. And last year, we were going to try to do a paving assessment and the stormwater improvement at Country Club Estates. At the same time, we're supposed to time it where we're going to try to get the cleanup done. So it was really supposed to happen last year. And staff struggles with the budget they set up this year to put it in there. But I will tell you, this community has spent a lot of money. You can see the kind of road that's paved right in front of that sign that's right there. It looks great in there, but the homes need that help to go. They were told last year that it was going to get timed up and cleaned up to actually go through it, so they were really counting on this. I really don't want to wait another year. I don't have another one of these scheduled for the year, and I will not bring another one back until the following budget year, but this is an area that really needs it bad, as you can see. They are trying to make a rebound in the area. It's right off US 19. And again, I'd like to see us spend the money on this. And so it's because of the great job we've done that these programs, these things do work.
So, Commissioner, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Or actually, go ahead. I'll let Commissioner Starkey go first.
Well, I'm certainly supportive, but I'm wondering if code is not going through these neighborhoods and dealing with some of this?
They are, and again, they're getting ready for this to happen. I mean, they've been waiting for this to happen for a year. So code will go out there ahead of time, like they did in Jasmine Lakes, Palm Terrace.
They've been leaving the utilities out in their front yards for a year? I mean, their washers and dryers and things?
I don't know how long these pictures are. If someone from code here wants to talk about these pictures.
There's no one. Code here.
Okay. Code is getting ready. Code went out there and looked at the area. After we did the Gulf Highlands, we found out this wasn't in the budget to go get it done. So Code went out there to go see how bad is the area. Do we need to get it done to bring this agenda item forward? So clearly Code's telling you this needs to be done.
And that they need to be going through the neighborhood, citing people too.
And they will ahead of time.
Because it's not all the citizens of Pasco County's responsibility for these people to not live like this, you know? I support the motion, but
No.
I would ask for code to do a better job in this community too.
And I want you to remember, these people were getting ready for this to happen even for the past year to get this stuff cleared out.
So, Commissioner, let me just a question, because I know last year we did talk about, as a board, we were going to do one per district.
Right.
I still have one coming up in the Angus Valley area. I mean, is there one that's not happening in somebody's district they haven't done yet, that's willing to give up those funds to cover this?
Well, do you mean one per year?
That's what the board
Lacoochee
agreed
area
on.
was picked up in my area. So
I'm sorry?
The area of Lacoochee, we did a pickup.
You did.
So I've used one in mine, but
Yeah.
this is additional money on top of, you've already used your money for pickup in your district.
You could say that, but again, this was supposed to be done last year, so I shouldn't have had to worry about.
I'm just
this yet.
asking because where the funding's gonna come, so I didn't know if anybody wasn't doing when they're willing to
Right.
give up their funding
I got
for it, so. Commissioner Mariano? You said, or not, it's Commissioner Wells? I'm sorry.
No,
You're leaning back.
I'm in favor of it, but it is a slippery slope. I mean, if we're gonna do this one time, because I've got neighborhoods in my district, I know Commissioner Starkey, well, we all do, that we could add to the list. I get it, it's the right thing to do for the residents. Do we have an idea, ballpark of what it's gonna be, Mr. Biles, the cost?
We put 30,000 in there, because that's the top end of what we expect it to be, because your tipping fees, overtime, equipment, you know, all that adds up between solid waste and public works.
Okay, so where's that money? It's gotta come from somewhere, so where's it gonna come?
Well, we identified the general fund for this.
Comes out of the general fund.
There are 5 in the solid waste budget, 1 per district.
So,
Have we had all the ones, like, I know the one that hasn't happened in mine yet, because we're waiting for a community leader. We had one person that kind
months ago.
of was gonna be the community leader, couldn't, so we're freaking that out. And we also needed to wait until the, the old fire station was raised, because we need that property to congregate and put everything, so.
And I just want the board to know, I thought this was already set up and done. I mean, you know, getting ready to get done. I wouldn't have brought in Gulf Highlands and Jasmine Lakes again, though it still needed it there. But I wouldn't have brought that to the board, but I didn't know there was gonna be a problem getting it done when it was committed to last year.
No, in this
And
neighborhood.
again, you understand, we just gotta ask
No, no,
where
I
the
know,
funds are gonna
I
come
just
from.
want
so.
you to know, I wouldn't put you in this position, but it just happened to be the way it played out.
Question.
Yes, ma'am, Commissioner
I'm
Starkey.
sorry, I don't remember when we decided that it might be a meeting that wasn't here. Not that I disagree, but it's, what is it? It's one tipping waiver per district per year?
Well, it's more than
Community
just
cle-
that.
it's community cleanup
It's
staff and
community
everything.
cleanup, so it's
One
solid
community
waste
cleanup.
staff,
Okay.
public works staff,
All
all
right.
the equipment
Yeah,
charges and
all
everything.
staff.
And I would say that I
That's
don't
what was
think you
budgeted.
should go back to the same neighborhood for 3 to 5 years, because I don't think the neighborhood should be dependent on the generosity of other neighborhoods, tax dollars to clean them, to take care of your own trash. So I would add that restriction on there too. I don't want to go back to the same neighborhood every year with the community cleanup, because that's not the way it should be.
Commissioner
is
Oakley?
this the same neighborhood you did
No,
previously?
no, this one hasn't been
He
done.
said it was supposed to be.
This, and again, we were doing this one here, we just did a major, this is where the Beacon Woods Walmart is. We were gonna do the road connection, we had to go fix some drainage in there. We've done a bit of work in there. The roads have just been paved now, and this was gonna be done at the same time again last year. But with delays that we had, it didn't get done. So this neighborhood has never been done before, and again, they were told they were gonna get it done last year.
Well, I'm in approval of doing it. I think we need to do it, but we can't continue. I mean, if you get to each of our districts, we probably can find more than one that we need to do each year. But we don't want to make a habit of
We'll not have
continuously
it that
doing
way.
that, because that's citizens' money, and these folks need to be taking care of that trash and hauling off themselves, really, without our generosity of doing it. But
I will move to approve.
second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
But,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, for discussion.
yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I think we should decide on how far apart a space could be before you go into a community and do a community cleanup. So 3 years, 5 years seems, somewhere in there seems reasonable. Any thoughts?
Well, and if I could, some communities are different, like when we talk about Moon Lake and some of Commissioner Oakley's district, there's so much more area for them to dump things than like Country Club Estates, to where they have, small lots, but they're still obviously dumping things. But I don't disagree with you. I mean, we've done Moon Lake, but when we do Moon Lake, it's it's other neighborhoods in Moon Lake. It's not just Moon Lake, so it's a little different with Moon Lake, but I don't disagree with you.
So then why don't we go 3 years?
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I think it's-
Okay.
So there's some
That's
direction, some direction.
Before we go back in the same area again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that we're not stopping doing one a year in our area, our district.
No. So,
Or that code enforcement's going to police that, not let that build up like that.
right, so there's direction that says, let's not do the same one in 3 years. That's kind of going to be up to the board to continue to remember that, obviously, because that's not an actual ordinance that we're going to go through the process of saying we can only do it once every 3 years. But again, I know we passed this today, but for the future, we do remember, we have a budget, and that's what we need to make sure that we fit in the budget, because now we're pulling from general fund. There's a few dollars there, I know, but next year it may not be. So, okay, so we got this done today. But remember, next year, let's stick with the one a year like we agreed on, right? We're all good?
Good.
Okay. Thank you all. So moving on to R2. Ms. Sims.
Good morning, Christy Sims, Senior Assistant County Attorney, County Attorney's Office. This is the introduction of a proposed ordinance. To quickly summarize, this is sort of the local version of a state law that requires, this is basically aimed at tow truck drivers. They're operating on rotation and that remove vehicles after accidents from our roadway to hold them to the standard that the state law requires, which is clean up all the debris that results from the incident. By codifying it in our local ordinances, we have a local chance to use code enforcement to enforce it. At the state law, it's only enforceable through issuance of a uniform traffic citation. At our level, it will be enforceable through, obviously, issuance of a county court citation, which is punishable of up to $500 per day. I will note that the local amendment that we're proposing also has a provision that requires the person removing the debris to lawfully dispose of it, which is not an element of the state's law. And I will note, just from a process standpoint, that there's going to need to be some coordination between code enforcement, who are going to be investigating these violations, and FHP and PSO, in order for them to determine who was the operator that worked the scene of the accident.
So, Ms. Sims, I have a quick question for you. That's one thing that does concern me a little bit, is that in this language it states injurious debris from the road and stuff. But at the same time, there are instances, unfortunately, where there are accidents that have bodily fluids. I don't need to get into details.
Yeah, that's not what this is aimed at.
Okay,
this is aimed at fender bender, somebody leaves a glass, the fender, etc.
I see it all the time.
Yeah, the people on the tow rotation, when we're dealing with a fatality or an injury or something like that, that's not what this is aimed at. We're not requiring a tow truck driver without the proper gear to be cleaning up biohazard material. This is, as Commissioner Wells, I think, was the first one that brought this up, this is aimed at all of the glass, hardened plastic that is getting pushed and accumulated into sort of the center of almost every intersection in Pasco County. And we think that by requiring the tow truck drivers on the rotations to do a good job, it's part of their contract to pick up that debris that causes flat tires, that flies up and scratches other people's paint, that et cetera.
I thought it was required already.
It is under state law, but just not, we haven't duplicated it on the local level.
Okay, well.
Commissioner Wells, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, and again, it's, I mean, like Ridge and Little, yesterday I ran over like a bumper that was, I don't think it's every hauler, but we know it's, again, and we need to hold them accountable, and FHP agrees, so will the sheriff, because a lot of times our folks are out there working those accidents, waiting for FHP to get there. But there's no excuse for them not cleaning it up. It just comes down to how are we going to be able to to monitor it. I don't know. I know we have cameras at every intersection. I understand the cameras aren't recorded, but could we do it that way if we had a question with, if you get one called in, code could look to see who was there, or we could pull the report from FHP or from the sheriff. I'm assuming that would be the easiest way. But we just need to hold these
I mean, I'd be
two
happy to work with code enforcement and FHP and PCO to put together that relationship, because there's going to need to be an information flow in order to get us the evidence that we need. I'm hopeful that those who are on the tow rotation or are working for AAA, you know, and aren't necessarily responding to a law enforcement agency, but who are doing a tow, that this will just remind them of their responsibilities and obviously, you know, give us a local option if they're unwilling to come out and clean the intersection as they should have been doing all along.
So I think it's simple. I just think, you know, and again, I know it's, I don't want to, we look at our ordinances, we want to make sure they're clean and stuff. That's why I'm just concerned about the no language in there in reference to carving out like biohazard material or biotrauma, any materials, anything like that would cause, just to make sure there's no confusion.
Well, I mean, I'll look into that, but like I said, I mirrored the language in the state law in drafting this, and that's certainly not the legislative intent with respect to this ordinance. Yeah, so you're not going to find me or Patrick Moore in our office prosecuting somebody for not soaking up some biohazard. You know, that's a different issue than what this ordinance is aimed at. So if you agree, we would ask you to accept the proposed amendments and direct board records to advertise the ordinance for public hearing on April 7th at 1:30. That would be here in Dade City.
Okay, so this is the introduction. Do I have a motion to move forward?
Move forward.
Yeah.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Move staff
Move staff,
Yeah.
move staff, yes, there you go. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Ms. Sims.
Thank you, Christie.
R3.
Good morning, Mike Carballa, Assistant County Administrator, Public Infrastructure. R4 is a presentation that was made at the Leadership Summit of the
R3?
Tampa. R3. Did I skip?
Yes, you're R3. You're
Okay.
you're R3.
But you're
You're R3
wrong
and
number,
R4.
right person.
We went out of order, threw me off there. No, just kidding, I can't
Yes,
read.
3 comes before 4.
So R3 was a presentation at the Leadership Summit of the Tampa Bay Resiliency Coalition on January 7th, 2020. I was asked to kind of repeat this presentation by Commissioner Starkey. The Resiliency Leadership Summit was held on January 7th and 8th earlier this year. It was a coalition comprised of 29 local governments in the Tampa Bay region, as well as over 80 partnering organizations, as well as businesses. Attendance exceeded 300 people between the 2 days and consisted primarily of elected officials, state officials, as well as local government staff, agency managers, and the public. I sat on a panel to fill in for County Administrator Biles to discuss represent local county governments and their efforts towards resiliency and sustainability. I think we're all kind of familiar with what sustainability is, but let me just frame up resiliency. When we're talking about resiliency, we're looking at how we can deal with the effects of newer events such as extreme weather. So, you know, hurricanes, stronger intensive storms, both coastal and inland flooding, as well as wide degrees in the swings of temperature. It's important to watch this because it's gaining a lot of momentum. In fact, we were on some calls with bond agencies, for example, where questions are being asked. What is your preparedness? How are you addressing resiliency activities or other proactive steps? And we're also hearing. It's rumor stage right now, of course, but perhaps there could be future funding issues tied to these. So it's something that we're watching and that we're paying attention to. So the slide deck here really kind of talk a little bit about who Pasco County is. I don't need to cover that here. but focused first on our sustainability efforts, right? And I think we have a lot to be proud of in Pasco County when it comes to sustainability. You look at our environmental lands program as well as the lands that are already set aside for conservation. I think Keith told me the number was right around 22%, just looking at those numbers there, of land that won't be developed in Pasco County. And that's in addition to other easements and things that could be out there. We can't put our finger on that, but that's a good thing. It's a good thing, and it's something to be proud of. Our solid waste program, this board has already demonstrated a commitment to resource recovery through our waste to energy facility, ash reuse, among other programs that we're doing. So from a sustainability portion, we're extending the life of our landfill assets. We're turning that garbage into electricity, and we're making beneficial use of those byproducts. So again, something very something to be proud of. Our reclaimed water program through our utilities, we don't have a surface water discharge. I think I've said that before, and that's important because a lot of utilities rely on discharges to surface waters. We don't do that in Pasco County. Fortunately, because of our growth and the position that we've been in, we've been able to make a lot of good use of our reclaimed water. And in fact, I can honestly say that we're at 100% reuse on reclaimed water, thanks in part to assets such as a reservoir. We have over 600 million gallons of reclaimed water storage in our system. That's a lot of water, and that's allowed our system to be very reliable, whereas 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't. We also have the 4G wetlands project, where we took uplands, and with a willing landowner, 175 acres, I think, of just uplands, and we turned them into wetlands. And that has the sustainability element of not only restoring habitat for flora, fauna, birds, all kinds of great things in nature, but also it's situated between two major well fields. So in a sense, we are recharging the Florida aquifer as well. So a lot of good stuff there. And then of course, our biosolids facility that we're using to turn our biosolids from our wastewater plants into marketable fertilizer, reusing waste energy power to power those facilities. We're doing a lot of good stuff on the sustainability front that we should be proud of. On the resiliency front, as I mentioned before, we're paying attention. And we have our planning and development department is really leaning forward on a lot of these items. We're attending a lot of the meetings. We're participating in the region, talking to staff at other local governments to see what folks are doing. I think it's important to note that Pasco County is included in a study funded right now by J.P. Morgan Chase to look at the resilience of affordable housing. So again, where opportunities present themselves and where it makes sense, we're taking a look at those things. Our planning folks too, even looking at our comprehensive plan and land development codes, are looking at amendments that are required by the state for Peril of Flood Act, as well as coastal management and working waterfronts, shoreline protection, seawalls, among other stormwater issues in those documents. On the water infrastructure side, we recognize that in extreme events, it's important to have a resilient water and wastewater utility. You don't want to have a public health crisis in the middle of an emergency. So we're making sure that the utility is investing in lining of our sewers. So our capital plan looks at preventing what's called I&I, infiltration, and keeping water that doesn't need to be treated at a treatment plant out. We're also looking at hardening our facilities, so as we come time to upgrade facilities, such as the Little Road water treatment plant, for example, right there off the Little Road near the government center, we're hardening that facility to withstand stronger storms. We're also making sure that we're well above flood elevations for our pumps, so we can continue to provide continuity of water service. On the flood side, of course, we have multiple projects addressing flood protection as well as utilizing cooperative funding. And I know that our coastal rating system coordinator and floodplain coordinators are making progress on actions to reduce flood insurance costs here in Pasco County. And of course, be remiss to mention our Natural Resources Department here, to not mention our Natural Resources Department, who's working on a number of coastal protection projects, land preservation, as well as shoreline pilot projects. So there's a lot going on, both on the sustainability front, and of course we're paying attention on the resiliency front. And as staff continues to learn more on that, we'll be better suited to come together and have that conversation as we figure out what policy needs to be in the future. Now that's about the extent of my knowledge. We went and we had a great panel discussion where we did actually talk about transportation resiliency. So the timing was great to talk about Ridge Road and being able to evacuate citizens. So resiliency is a very broad topic. In fact, we did bring a number of staff members today here with us if the board wants to continue to have more discussion on the matter. Otherwise, I would just simply open it to questions that you might have.
Questions?
Sure.
Commissioner Starkey.
Well, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the reuse and reclaim, because we have a Tampa Bay Water workshop coming up, and I know there will be discussions about maybe the Senator Simpson's bill that's going through, and Tampa's TAP project, and what is the utility department and the county administration's view on the reuse water?
So from a staff perspective, during the discussions of TAP, when the utility looked at it from a numbers and gallons, not from a policy perspective, of course, the TAP project made sense to us. There are a number of concerns that a lot of Tampa Bay board members had regarding, is this within the agreement or not within the agreement? Not trying to divorce that policy side. Using reuse water for its highest and best purpose is always a good idea. Whether that's using it for turf irrigation or going forward and drinking it, if you can make that work. We lack a regulatory structure to really move towards direct potable reuse. Some of these bills may change that. But again, I think highest and best use is always something that policymakers should consider when looking at reclaimed water.
So if we were to take our reclaimed water and turn it into a more usable type of water, would we want to keep that revenue within the county, the county's purview to use it, or do we want to make that be part of something that's regulated by Tampa Bay Water?
Well, I'm not certain that we could do that under the existing Tampa Bay Water agreement. We are prohibited from being a drinking water supplier, which would be the next level for us.
Okay.
So Pasco, of course, has made the investment in Purple Pipe, and that has offset our potable demands, which in turn translates into less reliance on fresher water sources. Again, technically it could be done, but I think the agreement would prohibit us at this time unless there were substantial changes to the agreement.
And Commissioner, we're effectively using reclaim to offset drinking water right now, anyway, through the system.
4G.
Yeah.
Well, no, ma'am, just the reclaim that's in the system where people use it for irrigation and all the turf management. If we didn't have that system in place, they'd be using drinking water. So we actually already are doing a 1-for-1 gallon replacement of drinking water with reclaimed water. So we're in a really good place. And a lot of because our infrastructure is new, and we've been building it, the system as we've been growing, whereas some other places are older and they don't have that ability to grow the system like we did. So we already are doing a 1-for-1 trade-off, reclaim for drinking water.
Hang on a second.
Commissioner
So,
Oakley.
well, I'm not done
sorry.
yet. So,
Okay.
just for the commissioners who may not have been following it because we don't have the issue that other counties have, I think it's really important to really listen to what he said, that we don't do any surface water discharge of our reclaimed water.
Correct.
Because there is a bill coming that says you have X amount of years before you have to do something with your reclaimed water. And I know when I was on the Swift Mud Board, we tried to get the Howard Curran discharge. I think back then it was 60 MGD a day, I think.
Yep. They're between 60 and 90. Depending.
Yeah. Piped up to Pasco County to help recharge our very stressed system, but that didn't work out. Then they were gonna pipe it to Polk, so anyway, they're gonna have an issue. And St. Petersburg, I think, is gonna have an issue, but we're sitting good.
Yeah. I just want to echo those same remarks that Pasco County, Tampa Bay Water's been great for Pasco County, and the ability we've had, because our growth came later, and when we developed reclaimed water for irrigation and other means, that we've been able to save potable water for our citizens, and I think that's the way we can continue doing that with the growth that we're having. So that's a plus for the system. Like separate from the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County, some of those areas, they're locked in because they've got a lot of concrete and they can't put the water system in for reclaim. And we've had the ability to do that as we're growing. So we'll continue doing that. So it's a good thing. And I've also asked Mr. Kabala to give me some questions that they would like we work on at our workshop coming up. So he's going to get back to me with those, and we'll be prepared to answer all those questions.
I actually.
Commissioner, I gotta keep going the line here. Commissioner Mariana?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, it's good to hear, Commissioner Stark, that you were involved with that Howard Curran plant that many years ago. When I first got on, we actually looked at that pipeline coming up with Bruce Kennedy way back then. And it concerns me what they're going to do with the water as far as pumping it underground and pulling up other good water. I think what we're doing with reclaimed water is just so environmentally superior. And I wish they would follow through with some of the things they talk about doing, like shipping out to Plant City, letting them go use it, and have their own use for it. That's great. I think what we're doing is we're rehydrating the wetlands to keep them sustainable for many, many years to come. And I think the whole region, maybe with Tampa Bay Water's influence, could actually drive that argument. Because right now, what we're doing is we're supplying all the water, a great portion of it.
Yep. Commissioner Starkey.
I actually talked to the moderator or whoever that person was that we both had to meet with, about having you sit at the table, having our utility director sitting at the table with us and being part of the workshop. Because a lot of this stuff can be technical, and I think we need your expertise at the table. So I'm not texting you questions, you're texting me answers during the workshop. So you may be seated at the table along with the other utility directors. And I had him bring this up because if you've been following the papers and following the legislation, it's been very contentious at Tampa Bay Water. And there's some decisions that will need to be made that, I feel, I always tell people I don't represent myself, I represent the board. And I think the board needs to know what's going on and be right. We need to have consensus on where we want to position ourselves in the discussion. So I would like Mike to be sitting at the table with us at our workshop, which is going to lead us into some policy direction for the future of Tampa Bay Water. So,
Mr. Kabala, so on Thursday at our MPO meeting, there is a agenda item that states there's a study, resiliency study. What do we know about that?
I'm aware of it. I haven't been able to get through all 180 pages of it, and I don't know if we have representatives here that can speak to that.
I guess my question is, how many people have their hands in the kettle here when it comes to resiliency? We talk about all being on the same page, so we have the MPO doing some of the resiliency, and when you have Regional Planning Council, we have Tampa Bay Water, we have utilities getting together. We're all over the place.
Well, to a certain extent, a lot of the stuff Pasco County's been doing is stuff that just makes good business sense.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what we've been doing. And so, we have efforts in planning, MPO. There are a lot of departments that touch resiliency. And so a lot of what we're doing is just good business sense. It just makes good sense to do it. So that's why we're going down that track. There's a good return on investment. We're protecting our assets, all that is part of that. So we have a lot of different departments working on pieces of it.
Commissioner Stark here, Mariano, I think you're involved with FAC and NACO, and you guys are having discussions there. What always concerns me, what concerns me with our regional aspect, the amount of boards and committees we have this, some going over here and some going over there, so to make sure everybody's on the same page. Yes, ma'am.
Mary Duke, Long Range Planning. The MPO has been part of the Federal Highway Pilot Project that's been looking at extreme weather conditions and how that might impact our transportation system. And Allison Ye, I believe, will be at the MPO board meeting on Thursday to present the final report and their findings from that. Pasco County was one of the counties that was a partner to that grant in terms of being studied, and they took a hard look at what might happen to State Road 54, what might happen to State Road 19, and they came up with regional growth product what impact, what would be the financial impact to Pasco County in the event of either a NOAA high Category 3 hurricane or a 9-inch rain inundation on the county. These would be major events that could happen, what might happen. And the study took a hard look at the economic impact that might happen, and also looked at how many lane miles might be impacted within the county. And
Okay,
We're gonna get that on
We're gonna
Thursday.
get that, yeah.
You're gonna get all that
You don't need to go wrong,
information.
'cause I appreciate, because we're gonna have that presentation Thursday, but so, and Commissioner Mariano, you sit on the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, and a lot of their efforts are going, again, toward resiliency, just going back again. If we have this group studying and spending funds, and we have this group studying, we gotta make sure everybody's on the same page.
So,
Everybody's going different directions here.
Right, well, and again, it's public infrastructure, my teams have a certain portion of that, Development Services has a certain portion of that. And
So
again,
are you working with the Regional Planning Council, because all the money they're spending, which is a lot, in studying resiliency, I mean, is any of that information coming to Pasco County yet that we
Yeah,
can
we have
utilize?
we have staff that are engaged. But I think the broader point is, I think that you're trying to make is, are we concerted in our efforts?
Correct.
Again, right now, we are making what makes business sense to us. I mean, if you look around, one extreme is you've got certain governments that are standing up departments on this stuff. I wouldn't suggest that we go that far, but
Standing up to
because
what?
that's the administrator's prerogative.
Full departments.
But again, we coordinate. So I have members of my team. My program administrator walks point on this for me in public infrastructure. He talks with planning. We talk with natural resources. These departments are engaged with each other. And again, I think like the administrator points out, a lot of this just makes good business sense for us, and that's kind of been our approach. But as we learn more, then we'd be more prepared to have a conversation on policy with the board.
Commissioner Starkey.
Maybe I missed it, but this morning was the first time I heard we're part of a study on resiliency and low-income housing. Has anyone ever heard that before?
That was the
The
grant.
Chase?
That was the grant we just got. That was at the, they made the announcement at the Resiliency Coalition. So it's something
Okay,
that.
well, I got there later.
Yeah.
So what does that look like?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the spots we're actually gonna study is gonna be the Leisure Lane area. It's one of the ones I've asked to have them study out.
Is there money to fix things with that study?
Well, I'll tell you, we're gonna keep on going every pot we can get, but there is money that we can go study it, not to go implement it. And Mary Ellen, tell us actually look at a few other things too.
The Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council received a $500,000 grant from JP Morgan Chase for a 2-year study. Pasco County was selected as one of 10 local governments that will participate with the Regional Planning Council, and USF is involved, and other organizations. The Florida Affordable Housing Coalition is also involved in the project. We will be working with them in terms of, they'll be doing an assessment of how vulnerable our affordable housing is, and setting up the framework in terms of how assessment should be done, resiliency assessment should be conducted for affordable housing. They're going to create a model that other communities can utilize, and so we will be working with them on that.
Thank you.
It does not mean any money to Pasco County. We will just be participating and receiving the benefits of the information that comes out of that study.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Mariano.
To just tag on that just a little bit too, talking with the DEO, Department of Economic Opportunity up in Tallahassee, we're trying to meet with them with Habitat for Humanity to actually go look at getting that money to do kind of the infrastructure base where we can actually clear out the homes that are there, put the infrastructure in, go from septic to sewer, house the people that are gonna be out of that area for a while and bring them back later on. And with what I just saw from the state passing, what could be $5.2 million of the Sadowski funds, affordable housing, it could be the second phase to do the infrastructure and have the funding now to say, look, if we get this infrastructure done, now we can actually start building these homes. We could be that pilot project. And Habitat from Pinellas had already started doing a couple of projects down in their county, so this is like an ideal one to actually work with too. So it could be real good. And good news, Mike, you did such a great job presenting that we just voted yesterday at the Regional Planning Council that we're gonna schedule our next one before June of 2021.
Okay. Good. All right, so we good on this?
Good.
The board questions? We're good?
Board is good.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
So let's,
Thank you.
well, you're staying up there, I take it, for R4, or do you?
I have help on this one.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you have met with all the commissioners and you have gone over this presentation and updated them, so this is more for the public view and any other questions that
That is
we need
correct,
to
sir.
ask. Okay.
Yep.
All right, thanks. Good morning, it's not afternoon.
Good morning, Commissioners. Laura Borgese, Department of Public Works. I come before you today to discuss the stormwater program. As you all know, stormwater is a very hot topic in Pasco County. Having come here from Citrus County, I have realized that stormwater is something that needs a lot of attention. It's a team effort. Nobody can handle this alone, and we need to work not only with our project managers, who I have here, but we need to work with our outside co-funding agencies. In order for our programs to be as effective as they are, we need to work with FEMA, SwiftMud, FDEM. We need to maximize what we can get done with the money that we can get from our partners. We can do more when we have more. I wanted to bring to your attention, back in 2017, we asked for a $15 increase to the stormwater utility assessment. We brought to you 10 projects which we were going to need design funding for, and this is the list of the 10 projects, many of which you will see in this presentation are in construction now. This is a location map of the projects that we are currently in design or construction. As you can see, there are a lot of projects on the west side of Pasco County. We are doing studies along the east side, so that you should see in the future projects, we will have projects out in the east as well as the west. To talk about the projects that we're working on right now, first I want to talk about Forest Hills. Forest Hills is 90% complete, the Unit 1 phase. It's located in the Holiday community around the US 19 Flora Avenue area. We are looking to complete the construction of Phase 1, spring of 2020, and we are looking to go right into Phase 2 at the completion of Phase 1. Maggie Valley Pump Restoration, we are actually starting and breaking ground today. There are people out there ready to demo the pump house. We actually are looking to also do the design for the Maggie Valley storage and wetland enhancement, so that this will address the flooding that is occurring in that area, and we are working closely with the Carlton Arms folks so that they aren't as disrupted during this project as they could be with the driving of the piles that are going to happen. We're actually using a different technology so that there won't be any vibration to their homes. Duck Slough project, we are finally in the tail end. We're in the final phase right now of the Duck Slough project, and we are installing all the remote control so that we'll be able to operate the gates remotely. We won't have to have staff out there in a storm opening and closing gates. We will be able to remotely open and close. This is the first step in becoming remote operational in the entire county. So we're going to start with Duck Slough, and then we'll move forward with other gates throughout the county till we're completely remotely functioned. Holiday Hills. Holiday Hills, we're looking to award the construction for Holiday Hills. This is Gainsborough Pond. It's within the Holiday Hills subdivision. It's east of 19, north of Stone Road. Once the award is issued, we look for the construction to take 1 year to complete. Colonial Manor, this is in the Jarvis Street area. It's south of Moog Road and east of US 19. We are also looking to award construction in the winter, and this will take 10 months to complete. Ironbark. This is south of 52, east of Zimmerman. We're looking to complete the design this summer and award construction, and construction is expected to take a year. Sea Pines. We are looking to complete the design this fall, and this is a project west of US 19 between Gulf Drive and Old Dixie Highway. Port Ritchie Northern Outfall. This is a project that is expected to relieve the flooding that is happening at the South Coast Gateway Mobile Home Park and the industrial area on Ridge Road. We are at 60%, we will be at 60% design in May on the northern outfall, and the alternative outfall, which is south of Ridge Road, is at 15% at this time, but we're looking to be at 30% design in June. PHSC berm, this is north of Ridge Road between Tanglewood and Moon Lake. We are looking to award this design in the next few weeks, and we are looking for the design to take 2 years, and then it will be 1 year for construction. Hidden Lake, we are looking to issue that design award spring of 2020, and we're looking for a 20-month design. This will help 150 homes in the area downstream of Hidden Lake. Going forward, as a department, we're looking to upgrade the countywide stormwater master plan. This will assist us in determining our future design and construction projects for Pasco County. We're also looking to utilize the data that we are collecting from the watershed management plan studies that we're doing. And we're also looking to update our policies and plans within the Department of Public Works so that we will be able to speed up our agreements with our partnerships. A lot of what we do is in partnership with other agencies, and if we can work with those partners more efficiently and effectively, we'll be able to get these projects to completion and fruition much quicker. That's all I have for you today. I'll take any questions that you may have with any of the projects.
Commissioner Mariano.
Yeah, there's a few things I want to go over. If you go back to the slides, start with Maggie Valley.
Certainly.
And from the meeting we had, I asked you a question about the pump location. Does it have to go right there? You're going to check with the consultant? Does it have to stay right where it is?
Yes, I did call the consultant, and they did look at moving it to the other side, and they had selected that the demo and the placement of the pilings on this side would be more cost effective.
Okay, very good. Now go to Ironbark if you would.
Sure.
This, Ironbark is a situation right in the heart of a major flood area where the water comes down. There's been a lot of sinkholes that were like filled in, so the water flow that used to be there is not there anymore. There's a pond called Gray Birch that's in one spot that's to the south. To the north is where Ironbark is. To the north of that is where we pump water right now, have been for the past 3 years. Runs up to an old utility area that's a big 25-acre dirt fill. When we had a storm a few years back, we pumped for 7 days out of Ironbark and Gray Birch into that field. And we only used the bottom quarter of it. And we didn't use probably 50% of that area. That pump system has been active now. We put a pump in the ground. We actually put pipes in the ground, pumps on the side. And from pumping from Gray Birch to Ironbark Pond, from the other side of that up to the other pond, to the landfill, land area, it worked very, very well, where they haven't flooded since. It gets a little bit close with just one set of pumps running, because when you're pumping from one pond to the other one, and the other one's running too, the one in the middle is kind of like, at Ironbark, is like kind of getting filled to dangerous spots sometimes, but so far it's worked perfectly. If we put another set of pipes in the ground from both ponds, another set of pumps there, and then we run, instead of having the second pipe run to the bottom of the drainage area, we run it all the way to the top. You could pump for 14 days. You'd never touch anything there. The price of that on top of the money we've spent already, if you use the same numbers, is probably about $150,000. So when we're looking at a point of $4.3 million, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to work with the consultant next week. I think it is, right?
Yes,
We're
that's
going to
correct.
talk about that. That number should come way down. If we just go take and put another pipe from up to the top to another outfall area, which I've never seen water get to State Road 52, where it's designed to flow, if we clean that area out, we can solve all this here and save a lot of money from stormwater for other projects that need to get done. So.
And I know
yeah.
where to spend that money.
Well, believe me, we always. I mean, so we touched down the Sea Pines. Sea Pines, that's just part one of two projects.
Yes.
And those people are waiting patiently, and Senator Simpson and Representative Mariano work very closely to get every single home in Sea Pines out of the floodplain. And they need the second part. So hopefully Dr. Chang, or the second course we're gonna take with Mr. Carey works, we can get that done faster. All right?
Commissioner Starkey.
Going back to Maggie Valley, or Magnolia Valley. I am in the process, we started to do it and it's kind of slipped our to-do list, but at the resiliency meeting, there was a speaker from Tallahassee who worked on a project called Cascade Park in Tallahassee. And I have been saying for years that when we redo this Magnolia Valley, we need to have Parks Department involved and turn this into a huge asset for the community. So I want you all to see and hear that presentation that he gave on Cascade Park, and to see what a dumpy stormwater pond looks like now, and what it has done for the economic revitalization of that area. So we may have them, we're going to try and see if we can get them at our next meeting. But I'm concerned if we go too far in planning this without having a comprehensive plan of what we want it to look like when we're done. If we plan it piecemeal, we may not get the bang that we could get. So I don't know how far along, I don't know how well you are integrating the Parks Department in the planning with this project.
If I
Commissioner Wells.
They are. I mean, Keith meets with them. That's the plan, is to have it like a passive fishing, something to where yes, it's included and you can see it. It's part of the plan, so.
Yeah, well, I'm waiting to see, I've asked numerous times, I want to see what the parks plan looks like, and no one has told me that there is one ready to go. So that's one thing I want to talk about. The second thing is, did you have Jarvis on here? Did you have Colonial Manor?
It is.
Yeah, and we met and we talked about this, and we have a meeting coming up, but as part of the Colonial Manor Drainage Improvement Project, that community, which has no parks in it, it was built in a time when we didn't have to build parks, would really like a trail. And we have talked about the possibility of putting a trail over this area, and then going down through land that we already own and connecting to Sunray. So I want to meet with the project designers and see, and who would I talk to? I already have a meeting with her set up, but who would be the other person that would come that would be the trails part of it in that kind of project?
Well, I think on that kind of project, that'd still be, Keith, Parks and Rec.
So it's Parks and Rec, even though
right
it's
on that.
utilities property. So,
Well, I mean, you're still talking about putting a recreational facility with it, so.
yeah, okay, so then we will work to get someone from Parks and Recs at the meeting, because again, I always think, and I'm saying this at Tampa Bay Water, that when we spend public money on infrastructure, let's try and get another benefit out of it. And in this case, I'd like that community to get a trail that will connect them to the Publix and the school on Sunray, because they have nothing, so. Keith just opened the door and heard me, so that's great. All right.
You ran away quick. Peeked in and it was gone. Anybody else?
Good. Touch on a couple more. I mean, as we talk about Maggie Valley, one of the things that I was looking at is the value from a local person who was in that area, says the peat that's in Magnolia Valley has got great value.
Interesting.
The sand could be real good too. They're gonna take the greens and teas and go put them on the high side of, on the back part of Magnolia Valley where it won't hit any wetlands and kind of store it. But the land value that's in there as far as the sand, whatever, with the markets going on with construction right now, as we're gonna go design this, I think it's good to probably get and there's at least two that I know that would love to make this like a mine, and be able to take that out of there. The more sand they take out of there, the more peat they take out of there, the more you're gonna create the storage, so we can combine with that as we take this next step for development is probably a good thing to get that incorporated. I'll touch on one more thing if I could, if you go to the Port Richey outfall projects. And I know Commissioner Wells did a great job working real close with getting the connection for that Port Richey Northern outfall. We had a lot of issues with the owners of the park that was causing us trouble, and then Nikki Spiritos, I'll give her credit, she kind of worked real closely to try to make that happen. So the team did a great job. So the Northern outfall was in great shape. And I'm going to talk about this under committee reports, about the Port Richey alternative outfall. I believe that's one to the south.
That's correct.
Okay. So we had a meeting with the city, and frankly, I'll get into the details with it, but that Port Richey outfall is 5 canals that go out to the Gulf that can take a lot of that water, and that could really help that whole area dramatically. And I'll talk again with it, but there's an opportunity there as well that could get done with combination of the Restore Act money. But I'll talk about that in the committee reports.
Okay. We good?
No, I had one more thing.
Oh, one more thing.
And that's to go to the SCADA project. I just want the record to reflect, because we saw a newsletter that went out in a community of Trinity Oaks that slammed my office and Swift Mud and others, saying that we weren't being responsive. And we went through it, and there were so many inaccuracies in that newsletter that went out to all the residents of Trinity Oaks. And I personally have called Ron Levy 3 or 4 times. I've emailed him and asked him to call me. He doesn't respond. But he puts in his newsletter that he calls our office and we don't respond. So I'll be sending a letter to everyone on their board. And I think your office is going to be responding.
We contacted him.
Oh, you got through?
Yes.
Okay, and corrected the inaccuracies in his newsletter. Is he going to do a retraction?
We didn't
Probably not.
formally ask him for the retraction.
Okay.
We just
I might.
educated him about our efforts and that we actually are listening to what they have to say.
Yeah, so I'm frustrated when we have false stuff going out. But our office is going to reinstate the, maybe we'll do it monthly, maybe it'll be quarterly, Trinity Flood Task Force newsletter or email blast update. It used to be that we would meet and we would have, the senators, Congressman Bill Rax's office, Simpson's office, everybody meeting to go over the flooding of the Trinity area. And we haven't done that in a long time. We've actually lost a lot of historical knowledge with staff. And but we're going to pick back up the communication level to make sure that community knows what's factual and what's going on. So if anyone's listening and you want to be on that newsletter update, please just email my office, kstarkey@pascocountyfl.net, and we will include you on that newsletter or email update blast.
And Commissioner Starkey, I would agree with you on that. I mean, if they're going to write a newsletter, they should put factual information that only comes from the county.
Right.
It should not come from anywhere else.
It was a bunch of baloney.
Yeah, so.
I don't mind saying that.
They should be held accountable in some manner or some form.
Mr.
I would
Chair?
agree. Commissioner
To
Mariano.
touch on that, Commissioner Starkey was there at all those meetings we had going through there, and I will tell you, I'm very disappointed with Swift Mud, because Swift Mud put the force in to go fill that weir back in. They had done it once before, we got it opened back up again, and they just did it again.
No, I've met with Swift Mud twice on that, and that was a temporary notch, and they told us we had to go get a permit, and put in, I don't remember the exact words, we didn't do our part, Jack, and they let it go for a long time.
Well, it's been going on for a while, no question about it, but they're in the process of getting it done.
Right, but we were the ones who didn't, that sat on it, not them. They let us go, let that notch go for a long time, which was an emergency, temporary fix, and it actually dried out the wetlands and was starting to cause some issues, so we could have been in a little bit of trouble.
We're working with SwiftMud right now to get that rectified.
It's under construction right now.
Yes, we're working on
We
it.
got the permit in.
We'll have a gate installed
Yeah.
as soon as we possibly can.
When
So-
they started filling it in, when we started moving on the permit application, so,
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we good?
yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Appreciate the updates. All right. All right, that is it, unless I have something that snuck in my walk-in folder, but I don't see that. Okay, beautiful. Commissioner Oakley,
Yes, sir.
do you have anything for us today, sir?
I do. A couple of things. I'd like to ask the board for approval for request the county attorney work with Pasco County Commission on Human Trafficking to develop a bathhouse ordinance to be in place when the Super Bowl comes into town in February 7th, 2021. The ordinance would ban bathhouses, also known as illegal massage parlors, which are fronts for prostitution and human trafficking. The Commission on Human Trafficking would like to see the creation of an ordinance which bans table showers, which is an activity associated with illegal massage parlors, similar to the one in Newport Richey, but I want the county to do this work for the county itself and make it better than what we've seen before. So we don't have one now. We need that, and we need it in place by February 7th, 2021. So we have time, but it takes direction from this board and a vote to move it forward.
Mr. Steinschneider, you understand what the ask is?
Yeah, the Human Services has submitted a draft ordinance for our review. I indicated to the commissioner that based on board policy, I needed a vote of the commission to prioritize it with the rest of the ordinances, and so I asked the commissioner to raise it.
So that was the motion. I think I had a second from Commissioner Mariano. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not going to steal Commissioner Starkey's thunder, so I'm not even going to talk about it, but I'm proud of her. So.
Fist bump, fist bump.
Oh, fist bump, all right.
Elbows are better.
And that's as far as I'll go. I'll leave that up to her to
Okay.
talk about.
Right, Mike? Elbows are better?
But that's the only thing, except I will be leaving my office. So if y'all need to contact me through my secretary for the next 10 days, because this afternoon I'm going to leave for South Africa.
Your trip's still on.
My trip's still on, yep.
Good for you.
So, but, and I'll be back on the 19th, so.
Nice.
You're back on the 19th?
Yes, but I'll be leaving at noontime today.
I'll be back in the office in April then. I'm just teasing with you.
Well, it should
So
work real
quarantine.
good while I'm gone then.
That's fine. Thank you, Commissioner Oakley, and have a safe, actually enjoy your trip in all seriousness. So, Commissioner Starkey.
I want everyone to mark their calendars on April 15th at 1:30. We will be cutting the ribbon on the Starkey Trail connection to the Pinellas Trail. We've got 3 days of festivities, actually, kind of wrapped around that. And the press release is coming from FDOT, so you'll be getting that. But we have some other activities along with that. The night before is a reception at the barn at Starkey Market. We'll have a dinner in downtown Newport Richey at the social, and bike rides, hikes, and all kinds of things. So bring your bike if you want out to the ribbon cutting. We'll do a little fun ride. Make it as long as you want.
Are
after
electric
the ribbon
scooters
cutting.
allowed?
Yeah, I believe so, if they go under a certain speed.
Very much. Very cool.
Then I did have a question that I've been being asked, and I think there was a delay. When are we going to see the FEMA flood maps done?
Mr. Biles?
It was supposed to be a while ago, and Gulf Harbors keeps asking, and
You know, I asked that question last week and I got the answer. Now I can't remember it. I'll have to look in my email.
okay, maybe during the day meeting
I
where
think-
you
so,
can get those
Let me
answers.
look in my email because I got the answer to that.
Is someone
but I
walking
don't
up
recall
with the
what it is
answer?
off the top of my head.
Is it June?
Oh, here we go.
It's an auto adoption.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Nancy Simpson. I'm the CRS Coordinator for Pasco. The final adoption of the FEMA maps that were studied last year will be in effect on June 5th. And you'll be hearing a little bit more about it in the coming weeks as we are the floodplain coordinator and I are proposing an ordinance change to go along with those. So we're scheduled for the April 7th meeting, but we'll be sending an email out with all the information this week.
Okay, well, I look forward to seeing what that ordinance has in it.
I'd like to get briefed on it too.
Oh,
Yeah.
you most definitely will.
Okay.
Before we go to the board, yes.
But I'm glad we're finally getting there because a lot of my neighbors in Gulf Harbors are coming out of the velocity zone. The way they wrote it, my understanding is when they did those lines, Gulf Harbors wasn't even built. And it's just kind of squiggly along the water, and I'm on open water. I'm not in the velocity zone. The house across the street and one over on a canal is in the velocity zone and has a much higher insurance rate, so like what? So I'm glad that's getting fixed. I am very excited about what's going on in Tallahassee with the Sadowski Trust Fund. And hopefully, as I know we might take a little hit here with the coronavirus stuff, and I see Mike Napier's here, and I've had a couple of conversations with him this week. I'm hoping that stays that way, but, they have about $370 million in there. And I think last year we were supposed to get $6 million if we were fully funded, and what did we get, $600,000? So, when our citizens are screaming that they've got a lot of homeless people in their communities, well, there's a reason why. And here's a way that we can help fix that problem. So I'm hoping it stays. At the March 24th board meeting in Newport Richey, we'll be presenting a resolution in honor of Women's History Month, so be prepared for that. And I already discussed Tampa Bay Water, and so I'm waiting for Commissioner Moore to come back, and I'm going to play you a little video. So let's see if there's something else I can talk about. Jack, we are still working on an answer for your community in Hudson. We have been emailing the DEO guys that we met with, and we have not heard back from them yet. So we think that maybe they're tied up in the session, and but we've sent out another email again today, and we're hoping that we will hear back, and if not, we may have to bump it up a level to see. But if you recall, when we were at that meeting, they said, just send us the IRMA, just send us a little bit of data, and we'll see if we can make it work, and then they've gone radio silent. So I feel for those residents there, and I want to be able to help them. So maybe we'll go to Commissioner Wells, and when Commissioner Moore comes back, here he is. Okay, roll. So this was kind of a surprise to me. I was in Hawaii at my son-in-law's pinning ceremony. By the way, we were in the office of the 4-star general, who the next day got appointed the Secretary of the Air Force, so it was kind of a cool experience for us. And the president's speechwriter, well, someone from the IGA called me and said, hey, the president's speechwriter is trying to get in touch with you, and please call him. So I did, and then they kind of quizzed me on, they said, if the president were to ask you some questions, how would you answer them? And so that was kind of unnerving, but I answered those questions, and I guess I passed the literate test, because then they said, well, would you write us, please, a 30 to 45 second speech, which is not easy. Danny and I rewrote that thing like 8 times, and we did, and we sent it off, and they said, okay, looks good. Drop the last 2 sentences, and we want to keep you around 30 to 40 seconds, and be ready in case the president calls on you Tuesday morning. So Monday, I had a full day chairing, my stuff, and I had 40 minutes to get in an Uber and go find an outfit to wear Tuesday morning, but thank God for Nordstrom Rack, because I got something in half an hour. And I sat there. I will admit to having an upset stomach when I woke up Tuesday morning. I'm not sure if it was the food or nerves, But at the 42nd minute of a 48-minute long speech by President Trump, this happened. So is this where you're starting it, not when he invites me up?
That's just the thumbnail.
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll go here. And, yeah, there was supposed to be a step for me to step up, but there wasn't, so. Worked out well, because the mic hid the Band-Aid from my surgery on my nose, which I worked very hard to cover up with makeup. Okay.
Very unfair, to a point where you really couldn't even properly do the work. It would take you so long to get the money you were afraid to do the work. We get it to you quickly. We're joined today by Catherine Starkey of Pasco County, Florida, good place.
That's awesome.
Catherine, please come up and share your story about your community and recovering from a very big disaster that I know very well. Thank you.
Shook hands.
I did shake hands.
In 2017, President Trump's Office of Intergovernmental Affairs started an innovative outreach program inviting to D.C. commissioners from each state, regardless of party affiliation. This opened a bridge for communication with federal agencies. And then Hurricane Irma hit my state later that year, and soon we had an issue I needed to bring to the attention of your administration, sir. Counties were getting into bidding wars over debris removal contracts, and they were creating unaffordable prices for other municipalities. Fortunately, I was able to call the IGA office, and they immediately set up a conference with FEMA officials. They quickly resolved the issue through an emergency rule change, and this would not have happened without the incredible outreach from the White House early on. I'd like to thank you, sir, President Trump, the IGA office, and the federal agencies who are being such incredible partners to local government.
This is my little addition.
That's awesome.
I like that.
And then he starts talking to me, so I'm standing like 10 feet away from him. There.
Thank you very much. Beautiful. And I have to say, Catherine, that you had two governors. You had Rick Scott previously, and he did a fantastic job. Now you're senator, and your current governor, Ron DeSantis. And they would come to my office saying, President, can we see you just for a minute? Oh, good. Separately, but very similar. They wanted money. I said, well, what do you want?
For the
We don't need
disaster.
much. We need a little bit more for the panhandle, as an example.
I think we cut it off. You can cut it off.
I love the panhandle.
Yeah. So, anyway.
That's
That
awesome.
was my, kind of cool, so. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't know if it was gonna happen or not. I only told my immediate family. And Commissioner Mariano said, why didn't you tell me? I would have been there for that. But I
for that.
I wasn't sure.
Weekend, but I would have gone for that.
Yeah,
That
I
was
wasn't
awesome.
sure if it was gonna happen, so.
Very awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Very incredible stuff.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you again. I know, who's going to follow that, right? Good job. So, Commissioner Wells?
Yeah, should I skip? So, I got an email from Ainsley, and I don't know if I need a motion for this, Jeff. So, there's a couple things. We've got a forced paving assessment that came through last year for Bass Lake, Cranes Roost. If you remember at the time it came to us, they literally were flooding, so the streets had water, streets had water on them. So we went ahead and just postponed it. So I want to bring that back to the board, hopefully for the 24th meeting in Newport Richey, for the forced paving assessment for that. And I would also like to address Orchid Lake. And this is where I know we're in the process of trying to discuss the different ways to do paving assessments, but Orchid Lake had 2 failed assessments, and then we passed one. And when I say that, we're talking about 3 or 4 roads. So you got 3 or 4 roads are going to be paved, but then the roads next to it that are in just bad of shape as those roads won't be paved because they failed. So I would like to bring those 2 forward so we can do the entire community of Orchid Lake, not just the one that passed. It's the right thing to do. Ainsley kind of sent me an email. Do I need to make a motion to bring it back, have him bring it back to the board?
I think
Dan?
administration
I just needed
can
to
take
know about it.
direction. Yeah.
Okay, well.
Well, I'm in favor of it. But I would ask also that we look at connecting, what is the road that that needs to connect?
Lemon Road, or?
What is it? Osteen.
Oh, yes.
Osteen needs to be connected, and so whatever, that's your
We're working on
district.
that.
But I talk about it to people all the time, and I've talked about it to the Pepin Academies, and I hope that we can do a board-initiated connection.
And I believe there's a way to make that happen.
Yeah.
So I know they're working on it. And I agree, because right now the ambulance on Mass has to go all the way around.
Yeah, it's
And it could be life and death, so absolutely agree.
All right,
So,
so they give
okay.
direction, they'll bring it back to us because we have to vote on it at that time. as well,
Yes,
so.
yep, okay.
What else you got, sir?
That's all.
Commissioner Mariano, you have a few items, right? You think you can do in 10? If not, we can bring
Yeah.
it back and you and I can finish after break.
Um,
A few, that way you can stay on a roll.
Port Richey could take a little while.
Okay, so do you mind?
No,
You and I will come back in the afternoon at
That's
the end of the day. You guys good with that?
Okay.
Well, Mr. Biles?
I do.
Because I have a few items too today, so.
Right, yeah, I have a couple things. One, I know Mike just took off. He's a little busy right now. But just want to let you know, the health department's been very active keeping us updated with respect to COVID-19 coronavirus and the status of that, both on the state guidance and the CDC guidance. They've updated the EOC. We've had a policy group meeting last week. We have another policy group meeting this week as well, just to make sure that we're in lockstep with the guidance coming out of both the CDC and the State Department of Health. So they've done a really good job on that. You've seen the new flyers that the DOH has put up, that they've given to us, and we put up around the buildings and other stuff. They've given those to the constitutionals as well. So again, he had to take off because he's a little busy, but they've done a really good job keeping us updated at the counties as well as the other agencies on what's going on in the area for us. So that's one thing. A couple other things just real quick. The libraries actually has a new digital bookmobile, so if you happen to get self-quarantined, you can get digital books from the libraries. So just make sure you have a library card before you do it. They have a new one coming up. Overdrive will be at Land O'Lakes here in a couple weeks. I think Commissioner Wells and I think several of y'all were at the Empowering Pasco's Veterans luncheon that last week, very successful luncheon that we participated in, but it was really, again, another 501c3 that we are supporting to a certain extent, but really they're on their own doing that. So very good stuff. And with that, senior services is actually the first time in 10 years actually have an increase in participants at our senior centers and congregate dinings. So that's good. That's awesome. So we're getting more people back in there into those areas. So that's a positive. And of course, animal services won 2 more state awards last week. I think that's pretty routine at this point for that group. It's more of a story when they don't win a state award, but they won 2, both Gina, and I'm not gonna try her last name, Supervisor of the Year Award, and Mike Northrup won Animal Control Officer of the Year. So again, state awards, state recognition. They actually had a nominee in every category that was a finalist. So, 6 different categories, including Department of the Year. It's a lot of good stuff going on in the county. Just, I'll finish with this. Purchasing is, works pretty heavily doing a lot of procurement for us. Staff Development Day, they not only did some staff development, but at the same time volunteered and cleaned up the beach out at Anclote River Park as part of their Staff Development Day. So not only doing the normal procurement stuff, but actually went out there and helped out with parks out at Anclote River Park. So I wanted to give them a little props because that's a group that kind of sits in the back but processes a lot of stuff. We can't do anything without that group, so I want to give them some props. And that's all I got.
County Attorney's Office.
I don't have anything right now, thank you.
Clerk's Office.
I do. I have one thing. I just wanted to remind everyone that this Saturday is our Passport Saturday. So if you would like, or if you need to get a passport, you don't have to take time off of work or take the kids out of school. It is from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. and it is in our official records departments in both of the government centers in Newport Richey and in Dade City.
Does that work for renewals?
It does.
Okay, so it has continued. I have one thing that's very quick. I forgot I need a motion to approve David, I will make a motion to approve David Secunda as my alternate to the BPAC committee.
Second.
I have a second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. We're on break. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call back to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission meeting of March 10th, 2020. I'd like to remind everybody also to please silence your cellular devices at this time. Now we're going to proceed with the public hearing agenda, starting with item P1 ordinances. Madam Clerk, do we have proof for item P1?
Yes, it was published in the Tampa Bay Times, February 28th, 2020.
Very good, thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Hernandez.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. Item P1 is PDD 20-0232. On this item, today is the adoption on this item, so we're asking that you approve it through a roll call vote. It's an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map 2-13, rural areas, removing the Pittman, Massey, and Jordan parcels from the rural area, Area 1, providing for a repealer, severability, and an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions before I ask for public comment? Do we have anybody sign up for item P1, Madam Clerk?
No one signed up for P1.
Anybody like to speak to item P1? Seeing none, it's back to the board.
Move for approval?
Second. I have a motion and a second, so roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
District 1, Commissioner Oakley. District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Yes.
District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Aye, motion passes 4-0 with one absent. Thank you. P2.
P2 was published in the Tampa Bay Times, February 28th, 2020.
P2 is PDD 20-0235. Again, this is also an adoption hearing on this item, so we ask you approve it through a roll call vote. An ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, Section 604 Northeast Pasco Rural Protection Overlay District, Figure 604-1 Northeast Pasco Rural Protection Overlay District Boundary, 604-2 Northeast Pasco Rural Scenic Roadways, Figure 604-4 limits to topographic alterations, and other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, severability, inclusion into the Land Development Code, and an effective date.
Any questions for Ms. Hernandez? Seeing none, do we have anybody sign up for this item?
No one signed up.
Anybody like to speak to item P2? Seeing none, it's back to the board.
Move for approval?
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second, roll call.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley. District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Aye, motion passes 4-0, one absent. P3.
Item P3 was published Tampa Bay Times, December 5th, 2019.
P3 is PDD 20-0350. Again, this is also an adoption hearing on this one, so we ask that you approve it through a roll call vote. An ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use maps, map 2-15 and sheet 16, changing from ROR Retail Office Residential to IL Industrial Light on approximately 10.17 acres of real property located at the northwest corner of US 98 and Old Lakeland Highway, providing for repealer, severability, and an effective date.
Anybody have a question for Ms. Hernandez? Seeing none, did we have anybody sign up for item P3?
No one signed up.
Anybody like to speak to item P3? Seeing none, back to the board. Entertain a motion. Have a motion.
Second.
Have a second on, oh, this is a roll call too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Let's keep going.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley. District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Aye, motion passes 4-0, one absent. Thank you. P4.
P4 is published Tampa Bay Times, February 14th, 2020.
P4 is PDD 20-0391. Again, this is the adoption hearing on this item, so we ask that you approve it through a roll call vote. An ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use maps 2-15 and sheet 14, changing from ROR Retail Office Residential, Res 3 Residential 3 dwelling units per gross acre, and IL Industrial Light to Res 12 Residential 12 dwelling units per gross acre on approximately 69.18 acres of real property located on the south of State Road 52 and west of Old Pasco Road, providing for repealer, severability, and an effective date.
Any questions for Ms. Hernandez? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, anybody signed up for, to speak on this
No
item?
one signed up.
Okay. Did you have a question?
Yeah, can you
Commissioner?
put that map back up, the one that was there before? Okay, do you see that very important yellow line?
The one that says
going
trail?
through?
Yes.
Just make a note that, you know, that's got to go through there.
Thank you.
Everyone knows that, right?
Noted.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'll ask one more time. Anybody in the audience like to speak to this item? Seeing none, it is back to the board. Another roll call. Entertain a motion.
Move approval?
Motion.
Second.
Second. Madam Clerk?
District 1, Commissioner Oakley. District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Wells.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 2, Chairman Moore.
Aye, motion passes 4-0, one absent. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Next, we'll proceed with the procedures for rezonings. Mr. County Attorney, please review the procedures for rezonings.
There are two rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there's no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or planning commission recommendation or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code.
Thank you, Mr. Steinsteiner. If you're here to speak to any of the items on the public hearing agenda, I will ask that you please stand at this time and be sworn in by the clerk. So if you're going to speak to anything the rest of the day, if you're going to speak on the podium, anybody? Okay. Raise your right hand and be sworn in by the clerk.
Okay, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
Okay, thank you so much. And today we have 3 public hearing items on the consent agenda. This item will be approved with 1 vote without a presentation unless there is someone here in objection. Items P6 through P8 are on the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have proof for these items?
We do. Tampa Bay Times, item P6, Tampa Bay Times, January 3rd, 2020. Item P7, Tampa Bay Times, January 24th, 2020. Item P8, Tampa Bay Times, January 24th, 2020, and February 14th, 2020.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez, back to you. I see P5 is withdrawn.
I want to also state for the record, P5 was published Tampa Bay Times, January 24th, 2020.
Thank you.
P5 PDD 20 CU 18 is Jordan Hippolyte for residential treatment and care facility in an R2 district. This item has been withdrawn by the applicant, so no further action is required.
Thank you. P6.
P6 is PDD 207428. It's Mango Hills MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development District, William Donald Mixon, Randy and Heidi Yarborough. It's a rezoning from an AR, agricultural residential, AC agricultural, R3 medium density residential, MF2 multiple family high density, and C1 neighborhood commercial districts to a master plan unit development district to allow 415 single-family detached or attached townhome units on approximately 69.18 acres. This comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions as contained in your packet from the Planning Commission and the Planning and Development Department.
Anybody here to speak in objection to P6? Anybody here to speak in objection to P6? Seeing none, leave on consent. P7.
P7 is PDD 27461 in the name of Daniel A. Miller Revocable Trust. It's for a change in zoning from AC Agricultural District to an I1 Light Industrial Park District. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Anybody here to object to P7? Anybody? Seeing none, leave on consent. P8.
P8 is PDD 27464 in the name of Carlos and Mary Poston. It's for a change in zoning from an AR Agricultural Residential District to an R1 Rural Density Residential District. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission and the Board and the Planning and Development Department.
Anybody here object to P8? Anybody here to speak in objection to P8? Seeing none, leave on consent. I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
A motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. Thank you. P9.
Okay.
P9 was published in the Tampa Bay Times, January 24th, 2020.
P9 is PDD 27462. This is a zoning amendment in the name of Salvatore A. Carollo. It's for a change in zoning from ER Estate Residential District to an R1 Rural Density Residential District. The parcel is located in south central Pasco County on the north side of Country Club Road, approximately 550 feet west of Old Pasco Road. The site contains 1.77 acres. The applicant proposes to rezone the property to R1 and has volunteered to record a deed restriction limiting the maximum number of lots on the parcel to 2, to have a total of 2 single-family dwellings. The site has a future land use classification of Res 6 under the comprehensive plan. I'm showing you the existing zoning out there on the site. This is our current site here in kind of like a pinkish or salmon color. To the west is R1, which is what this applicant is requesting, which is a rural density residential district. To the east is R1, which is a rural density residential district. There's also ER, estate residential, and R1, which is a rural density residential district to the south. The comprehensive plan in the entire area is Res 6, the potential for 6 dwelling units per acre. This is the aerial of the site. And this comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission. Again, the applicant has voluntarily agreed to record a deed restriction, restricting the number of lots on the property to a total of 2. That's in your finding of fact number 2, and the rezoning will not take effect until such time as that deed restriction has been recorded and delivered to the county. I'm here for any questions you may
Any question for Mr. Hernandez before we go to the applicant?
Yeah, can you roll that back about 4 slides?
Sure.
I thought I saw a name of a road there that might have been a mistake. Keep going back. Go back,
What are you looking for?
go back. Said, right there. Wait, go
Oops,
back,
sorry.
go back. Mile stretch is,
Oh, I'm sorry, that's definitely a mistake. It's on the north side of Country Club Road, approximately 550 feet west of Old Pasco Road. Definitely not mile stretch. That's a total mistake. I apologize for that.
Okay, all right, for the record, thank you, Commissioner, appreciate it. Ms. Wilhite, for the applicant.
Good afternoon, Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey, Florida, 34652, for the applicant. I understand that there are some neighbors that might be concerned. The issue that we've always heard about this lot being in the same ownership that the former golf course was in was whether this lot would be used for access from that project, which is now called Sienna Cove, to Country Club. First of all, Sienna Cove is fully permitted. There's no access there. We wouldn't be rezoning the parcel if we were going to do something like that against our MPUD. We would have already done it. We didn't need to rezone the parcel to do that. Our MPUD has a binding plan that goes with it. The Sienna Cove MPUD has a binding plan that goes with it that shows a pond. We did, as you recall, we did all the adjacencies, and we did ponds, and we did extra buffers. So there's a pond behind there. So if there's a pond, binding pond, we can't have anything behind that parcel but a pond. We've got fully permitted plans for Sienna Cove. There's no stub out, there's no access. All that being said, if it was a pleasure of the board to add an additional language to the deed restriction that makes it clear that that cannot be used as access for the adjacent parcel, we can put the parcel ID number. If that makes the neighbors feel better and helps the board, we're happy to do that.
Okay. Great, thank you, Ms. Wilhite. Any questions for Ms. Wilhite at this time, before I seek public comment? Okay, thank you. I have a number of folks that are signed up today. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay.
And we'll just call it by threes, and if you don't mind coming up.
All right, so we have Carl Stone, followed by Scott Winter, followed by Dennis, is it Longhofer? Yes. Okay. If you could line up in that order in front of the podium. Carl Stone, Scott Winter, Dennis Longhofer. When you speak, please state your name, your address, and whether you have been sworn.
Will do.
Thank you.
My name is Carl Stone. I live at 6526 Country Club Road, Quail Hollow acreage, and I have a handout for the clerk.
I need a motion to receive and file.
Receive and file.
Motion to receive.
Second.
Here.
All in favor? Aye. Yes,
Aye.
yes, sir.
And have you been sworn?
Pardon me?
Have you been sworn?
Have you
Yes.
been sworn?
Thank you.
Thank you.
In 1986, the Board of County Commissioners created a blanket rezoning for our subdivision. In that rezoning, it was to rezone from residential one-party and multifamily to ER. Some of the lots were substandard. By that I mean they didn't have 125-foot road frontage, so they couldn't become ER. Or they had 125-foot road frontage, but they didn't have 1 acre, so they couldn't become ER. At that point, the Board of Commissioners approved this mass rezoning, but grandfathered those lots that could not meet those standards. The Planning Commission has showed the two lots east and west and said, well, why not rezone this ER lot to R1 since it's R1 on both sides? But those lots that are on each side are substandard to the ER standards and were left as grandfathered. It's not like they were intentional. In 2003, lots 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, and 26 were all zoned multifamily. My wife and myself and 5 other residences paid $498,000 to get these lots and rezone them to ER. When we came before the Board of Commissioners and we requested to rezone them, the comment was, this is what the neighborhood should be. In 2005, a developer from Miami tried to rezone this lot. The Board of County Commissioners denied that request. Part of the handout that I gave, and it's exhibit number 2, shows the comments from Commissioner Marlieri, Commissioner Mariano, and others who voted against the rezoning because they wanted to preserve our subdivision and the way of life that we've got. I had a meeting with the Planning Commission staff, Christina, and I showed her this rezoning document from the Board of County Commissioners, and she said, that's nice. I said, what do you mean nice? And she said, well, that was then, and this is now. Times change, people change, and we no longer feel the way they did. This shows us not to be complacent as developers will continue to wait for the makeup of the board to change and hope that you will lean in our direction. And one last comment.
Thank you. I got the 3 minutes is up. I gotta keep going.
Well,
That's the rules.
one last comment.
That's the,
all of
That's the
these-
rules. That's the rules. I can't do it for anybody. We gotta
Okay.
keep, next, please.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, we gotta stick with the 3
No,
minutes.
that's all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let's deny the rezoning request.
Good afternoon. Have you been sworn, please?
Yes.
And name and address for the record, please.
Scott Winter, 6448 Country Club Road, Wesley Chapel, 33544. I also have.
I need a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Motion passes. Anything in there?
I'm here to speak about the stormwater drainage and percolation ditches that go around the golf course and Quail Hollow acreage communities, ponds, and wetlands, and overflow ditches. All of the homes in Quail Hollow acreage are on wells and septic tanks, and increasing density, of course, can harbor some damage to our drinking if we're not careful with how this is taken care of. Stormwater ditches cannot be encroached upon by these or any other developers who may eventually end up with the properties on pages 3, 4, and 5. We at Quail Hollow acreage homeowners ask commissioners for the formula used to consider the approval for rezoning in any and all other future requests at Quail Hollow acreage. In the case of Lot 6 and Planning Commission state, since it is R1 on both sides, why not allow rezoning to make it R1, the ER to R1? As Mr. Carl just talked to you about the rezoning, parts of rezoning this back in 2005, and it was stopped because we're trying to keep the lifestyle of this community. I'd also like to point out that with the drainage ditches that we have around our properties, all of us had to follow very specific rules, EPA, SWIFT mud, environmental impacts, and along with me, it took 2 years to develop my property before I could even build on it. What I would like to point out is on the surveys for this piece of property, there's a lot of question involved in how this survey was done, stating that the drainage easement should be 60 feet total, 30 feet from the center of the drainage ditch to left and right. And the measurements here on the final page that you have show totally different measurements, and then the excuse is written that the marker was underwater and could not be measured. And I would also like to have some clarification done on this measurements and this survey to make sure that that drainage ditch is protected and they follow the same rules that all of us had to follow with that. And that's all, that's what I'm speaking of to the drainage ditches.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you. And while you're walking away, staff can answer this question in a minute, but no, keep going, keep going. No, staff can answer that question in a minute, but it'll come to site plan when it comes to the drainage and things like that.
Following Mr. Lunghofer is Cindy Lunghofer.
And I think we have some more paperwork you want to hand out, sir?
Yes.
Move
to receive.
There we go.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
If you could state that you were sworn and then your name and address, sir.
My name's Dennis Lunghofer. I was sworn 6701 Country Club Road. That it?
Yes, sir.
Ready? So my comments have to do, in fact, with the ingress-egress issue that was mentioned earlier. I'll just start with this. The residents of Quail Hollow Acreage are concerned that the change in zoning for Lot 6 may eventually lead to the use of Lot 6 as an additional ingress and egress route between Country Club Road and the adjoining MPUD-zoned Sienna Cove property. That picture right up there. As part of this Lot 6 rezoning effort, the residents seek additional protective measures by the BCC against such potential action. In 2017, the Quail Hollow Golf Course was rezoned from M1 to R1 to MPUD, and an approved binding conceptual plan was put in place. At that time, the BCC discussed the use of an additional road access to Sienna Cove property, but approved the binding conceptual plan with a single point of entry, Boom Boom Drive. Mr. Corolla owns both Lot 6 and the adjoining Sienna Cove property, creating the opportunity for Lot 6 to be used as an additional ingress and egress route to the Sienna Cove property. To be clear, although Mr. Corolla has not previously requested the use of Lot 6 as an ingress-egress route to Sienna Cove, MPUD, either he or subsequent buyers of those properties may request that development via the BCC. We are particularly concerned about the subsequent buyers of the two undeveloped properties. They can both be sold by him, and this could happen. Country Club Road is a small, county-maintained residential road and is not...
You're good.
Whoops.
You're still good. You're still
One
good.
more minute.
Yep.
Yep, all right. It's a small road. It's not designed as an ingress-egress avenue. The deed restriction that you have, finding of fact 2 of Resolution 2040, does not provide protection against ingress-egress route development, only the maximum number of dwellings. So my recommendation to the concerned Quail Hollow Acreage residents recommend that the BCC withhold approval of this resolution until the following finding of facts is added. The applicant has volunteered to record a deed restriction to his property such that the subject parcel cannot be used as an ingress-egress route between Country Club Road and Sienna Cove property development. We're concerned about these things being resold and this action occurring.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anybody else like to speak? Please line up at this time. Anybody else? Go ahead and come on up. Yep. Have you been sworn?
I have been sworn.
Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Cindy Lunghofer, 6701 Country Club Road, Wesley Chapel.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Lombard, just bring that microphone over to the right just a little bit and it bends down. Well, actually, if you go to the end right here, there you go, you got it.
All right.
Perfect.
I'm here as a representative of the Quail Hollow Neighborhood Citizens Group, and I just want to sum up and reiterate that our main concern is the ingress-egress route, or the potential for that, between Country Club Road and Sienna Cove. we understand that the intention is clear in the deed restrictions that they're willing to add, and we would just like to ask that they include a second one saying that it cannot be used as a road, an ingress-egress road. The other concern that we have is that there are several other parcels of land within Quail Hollow acreage that are several acres, and we want to make sure that this is not a precedent that's being set where these lots are being broken up into less than an acre lots. This one is pretty close to an acre, but still, we don't want to have townhouses appearing or multifamily houses appearing. So that is a concern of ours also, and we just want to get that on the record to the Board of County Commissioners. And that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? I have one person here. Anybody else after this? I'm going to cut it off after the last person, just so we can keep you guys going. All right. Have you been sworn?
Yeah.
Great. Name and address for the record, please.
Jean Lazinski, 27322 Golf Course Loop, Wesley Chapel in Quail Hollow. I've been living in that neighborhood for 40 years, and the reason we chose that neighborhood was for the low density and the peaceful country atmosphere. There's been people living there for 50 years, 30 years, 20 years. Almost nobody ever moves out of this neighborhood because it's so peaceful and beautiful. And everything is being built all around it, getting, like Brandon, but we have our beautiful little oasis. And we like to keep it that way. And I am afraid of this being set a precedent to come in and get the rest of the properties and split them up for high density. If developers can come in willy-nilly and just change zoning, where's our protection when we buy property? Where is our protection of our zoning protection that we think we're getting? If they can just come in and say, oh, I want that property, I'm going to come see you guys, and I'm going to get it, and I'm going to increase your density. I don't live here, so I don't care. I want to make money. And that's the way all the neighbors feel. We don't want this increased density. We want to keep our beautiful little oasis. And you denied it last time, so nothing has changed. I haven't changed. I want my neighborhood, and please let us keep it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and have you been sworn, please?
Hello, my name is Jim Lazinski. I live at 27322 Golf Course Loop. I've lived there for over 20 years.
Sworn.
I'm sorry?
You've been sworn in?
No.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do that real quick.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, what I was trying to say is the beginning of all the shenanigans that really went on in our area started about 20 years ago when a developer purchased 3 lots, R1. He decided he wanted to get 4 houses on it, so he just decided to build on a lot line. We raised hell, and eventually he claimed he had a vested interest. They allowed those to stay R1, which is the only reason why there's R1 there. And then he admitted in front of the board that he wanted to go around and purchase up the rest of the land and just put R1 or double houses or even build on lot lines again. Now, this is something that we've actually faced. This is what the board has faced. People keep on talking about on the south of Golf Course Loop, Country Club Road, that there's R1. That's Angus Valley. That's different. Just because we're adjoining, it is different. We have had the ER to get the protection. We still have some plots that are unused. If this individual is granted this R1, how could you possibly deny these other ones if he wants to change those to R1? Because it's the same development, it's also ER. You'd be able to change those around, and again, it's going to change our particular area, what we're living on, what our neighbors are living on, what we've been paying taxes on for decades. So we would like you to keep it at the ER. If he's going to put 1 house, fine, got no problem with that. But ER should stay because that was our only protection, and it's what we've been up here, I don't know how many times, talking to the board, and they've always gone with the ER. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Oh, seeing none, I will go back to the applicant now.
Barbara Wilhite again. As I stated, we are happy to add to the finding of fact the requirement to include in the deed restriction, restricting, not allowing ingress and egress through the parcel that's to the east, excuse me, that's to the north. We can put the actual parcel ID number in it so that it travels with the parcel as opposed to a name. We're happy to do that. You know, as your staff has stated, you know, R1 is absolutely appropriate in this location. It's on both sides. That's consistent with the land use. We're talking about 2 units on 1.77 acres. It's also consistent with to the south. We'd ask that you go ahead and approve the rezoning so we can have 2 units on 1.77 acres. I think it'll, with the deed restriction, they'll know that it's not going to be used for access in the future. Thank you.
So if I'm not correct, we would have 2 deed restrictions. There's one that's currently actually as part of the agenda item, which is lip. Whoa. 2 deed restrictions. One being obviously that's it's maximum of 2 homes on the division. So one home per site, right? Per lot. Okay. And the other deed restriction would be, however you would want to word this, Ms. Hernandez, would be obviously prohibiting any access or ingress, egress into Sienna Cove from Country Club Lane or Country Club Road.
Yes, so what we would do is we would update finding of fact number 2 that specifically states that the applicant has volunteered to record a deed restriction, limiting the subject parcel to a maximum of 2 single-family dwellings and restricting access to parcel ID number, whatever, we'll list the parcel ID number through through these lots. And then we'll, that'll run with finding of fact number 12 that states that it will not take effect until the deed restriction reference in the finding of fact number 2 is recorded and delivered to the county. The only difference is that the deed restriction that's included in your packet does not include the second deed restriction that the applicant has agreed to place on the property. So what'll happen is that if it's approved, the applicant will redo the deed restriction. The resolution will not be signed today because it doesn't include the correct information. So the resolution will not be signed until the next time this comes to the board. Is that accurate?
And that's acceptable, just that the resolution wouldn't be signed today, but the next time the board convenes, the chair would be able to sign it then. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's your procedure?
Yes.
Okay.
That's acceptable.
And then I have a language here submitted by Mr. Longhofer I should have read off before. It cannot be used as an ingress egress route between Country Club Road and the Sienna Cove property development. It's a little, including the parcel, but we need to include the parcel IDs, plural, right? We have to add that in too.
Yes, that's agreeable.
Okay. So back to the board, questions, comments?
To the resident commissioner.
I'm a chair, so
But you're also the resident commissioner,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, so I asked my questions. So I'm okay with my questions right now. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions. Commissioner Starkey, did you have a question?
It's, you know, if it was any smaller, I wouldn't be agreeing to it, because then I think you're pushing a little bit, but if they're 9/10 each, I mean, they're almost there, I guess I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think that language, obviously, they agreed to it, and that's what we heard some of the residents say as a large concern is the not allowing the ingress, egress.
Yeah.
That's their fear. I mean, that was some of their fears, so. So it's to the board. Any other questions?
No, if you're good with it, move for approval.
So in that motion, I would need to.
With the noted changes.
With the noted changes, adding the deed restriction, cannot be used as an ingress egress route between Country Club Road and Sienna Cove property for both parcels.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Okay, so let's see here. I will let it clear, and we got to go back to Commissioner Mariano and myself. Okay, Commissioner Mariano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to say last week I went to the Real Estate and Travel Expo up in Orlando. And going up there, I wanted to get some projects to talk about for what was going on in the area. And David Engel put a presentation together that I could talk through and some awesome talking points. I'll share it with the board later on, but people are pretty impressed with all the things we've done, the creativity that we've had as far as bringing business here and the friendliness we have to bring jobs to the Pasco County. Also, we had a TMA meeting on Friday, which we had 3 county commissioners of Pasco County show up. And it was time for the election of the chair and the vice chair, and I was selected to be vice chair.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, so the aquatic preserve is still going on. It passed through the House. Representative Mariano voted against it. It's still, I think, going to be, it's going to still make it challenging to dredge the canals of Westport, Sea Pines, Sun West, and if we're trying to do any other things out there, it's still going to be a problem. It's coming up to the Senate if you want to respond how you feel. Something else I found was when we had done the Hudson Channel, it was a channel that had been used for like 80, 90 years. We had to give 294 acres of seagrass protection zones. Now, my thought was if we have to do this again for some of these other channels, if everything's already protected, what are we going to do for mitigation? They did say, DEP specifically said, if we do have this new aquatic preserve adopted, it will be tougher to get anything dredged or any mitigations to be done for other improvements. It's a whole nother higher level of standard. So it is definitely going to be an effect to us, which does scare me. Right now, it's like I said, it's going to go to the Senate at this point.
If I could, I know when I was in Tallahassee a couple weeks ago, I met with the doctor, Masula, and, you know, I had the same kind of questions, and I asked, like, about the dredging, and he said if the dredging is under, so, well, no, under like a certain size, it's not going to impact it, but if it gets, same with like a dock, it was like a huge number where he's like, listen, you dredging, because I was concerned about like the couple, you know, trying to fix those couple canals that have the drainage, and he gave me numbers. I didn't see it on the rewrite of it, but he was talking about, it was a big number, so I was like, well, it's not going to hold us up. You know, I'd like to see that number. I'll get with Ralph, but looking at the changes they made a lot of changes to, you know, with the coastline, pushing it out to the mouth of the river, which I thought was good, instead of being up to 19, you know.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Commissioner Starkey.
Did they fix the south channel of Gulf Harbors? Because in the original map, it only had the north channel spiking out, but it didn't, you know, we needed them to fix the south channel of Gulf Harbors.
I think it goes out to the edge of, let's say, right to the flush. I don't know if they extend it out. What we tried to do is take every channel as far out as they went and try to draw the line from that point, use those coordinates. George Thomas did a great job drawing that map out, but they didn't accept that specific line all the way out. They would still cut it back in. We may be okay. I'm not even positive right now. I will tell you, I did find that they notified Citrus County, they notified Hernando County. Citrus County gave them a letter of support. Hernando did not. We were never even notified. And
well, we need to see if the south channel is still at the, even with the residents, because the problem with the south channel of Gulf Harbors is right when that channel starts, people are hitting right the sailboats.
and again, I'm concerned about all the channels.
No, I think it goes right.
The last map we saw, it came out the north channel and then was straight across on the south. Has anyone, Mike, are you looking at the map?
Yeah, I'm trying to look right now.
And we had asked that get fixed, and you know, Ralph's up there, so I don't know if it got
No, I was trying to protect all the channels as well, but you're
well,
right
I think
on
all
that
the
point.
other channels were extended, but they missed the south channel at Gulf Harbors. That'd be a problem.
Well, I don't think they had the Westport one. I don't think the Sea Pines one and Sun West, they were going inside too. So I mean, there was definitely lots of issues. I tried to get them to just let us pull it back. You know, wait till next year. Let's go take a look at it. Don't impact us. And if we're not sure what's going to do and what it's going to do, then so be it. But again, it went through the House, and right now it's going to the Senate right now. So maybe we get done with the meeting. If you want to call Senator Simpson, reach out to him.
Ms. Biles, could you have Ralph, who's up there?
Ralph's working right now.
Send us the map so we can see what the final map is looking like?
We can get the current map.
Okay. Like ASAP? I don't know how to look it up.
Ralph has got it. He's up there talking right now.
Farmers.
Yeah, so they left it
North
in.
channel?
Yeah, so that's just the north, not the south. I mean, the whole thing was
So
like.
did they extend the south channel?
Doesn't look like it on here, but I don't know if they made changes or not.
So again, I mean, knowing that we were not even contacted and everyone else was, and I will tell you, that, as I mentioned last time, there were 4 people in the retail business with boating and tourism industry. They were told one thing about this, they didn't know what the negative effects were, and they felt they were slighted too as far as the information they were given, signing a form of approval when they were told something different what they were signing. So anyway, with that said, if you would, pull up the map of Port Ritchie. I was very happy to have my new assistant, Colleen Weaver, set up a meeting with the city of Port Ritchie, manager and Mayor Tremblay. Mr. Biles, thank you for reaching out to us. We should meet together. So we had 3 of our staff people, our consultant was there, Colleen was there as well, and we talked about what was going on with what they were trying to get done. If you look to the left side of the map where it says Channel 1 and 25A, it starts with a blue line and then a red line. That's their proposal to get work done on the BP Restore Act. Now, just to remind you, when they first applied to the BP Restore Act money, they were going to do all the channels around the whole bayou, 20 some odd channels. They have now cut down where they cut all that stuff out of the project. They want to get down to these 2 right here. And when they competed with the 50 other projects with the BP Restore Act money through the committee, did the scoring process, rated everything else, I guarantee you, if they just came in with this project here, it would have ranked at the bottom of the list. For them to come back and not look further from going from, let's say, remember, it was a $12 million project they originally submitted, then they shrunk it down to 5, now they shrunk it down to 1, and the $1 million turns out to be just those 2. I told the board that as we're working on the state expenditure fund, so the state money, for the Port Ritchie outfall is about $5 million, which goes all the way up to where it says Port Ritchie outfall, alternative outfall. It goes right up to that area there. Well, I told you we could probably work with SwiftMud, and SwiftMud has said it, DEP has said it, that if you submit a plan, we can consider it and go. We can't just tell you we're going to do it, but we can combine these projects with what we have over there. If we can combine that money, use the money from BP Restore Act money, we can probably combine the whole project, share all the mobilization costs, et cetera, and possibly get channels 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 done. They all connect to the outfall, which is a lake that goes around there as well, that would connect. When I proposed to them, without them having to spend any money, we could probably combine all this stuff here, get it done, get 5 channels done, and as we know, when you have a property that's on a canal, that you can actually have water access to it, that value goes up. So we've talked about them being on the CRA, how they're going to talk about getting out of the CRA, not only to us, but at the BP Restore Act committee meetings when we get approved, how that was like one of their goals. They want to become self-sufficient. That will improve all the values of those properties up there. It's going to help with storm surge. Try to imagine when a storm surge is coming in. As when we actually dredged out Quist Drive and for the first time Suncoast Mobile Home Park didn't flood out. You get all the water comes, even if it goes over the top of the canals. If you have each one of these canals that are dredged out and cleaned out, the water can flow out quicker. So if you have a 3-day storm, picture all that water that's going to come in. If that water can't get out, it's going to build and build and build. At least every 12 hours or so on a low tide, that water's got a chance to get out and the place can regroup again. If we don't clean all these up, we're going to continually have the same problem. This is going to help that. It's going to help with stormwater quality. It's going to help with water quality all the way through. Now, I told you I was going to try to work with them. You gave me the approval to go work with them. I worked with the state, worked with our consultants. They rejected trying to work with these plans, even if it didn't cost them any more money. I was blown away from their responses. So
and why is that?
They had no logical reason. They don't want to wait the little bit of extra time it would take to get this to go through the state to get it approved.
Well, when you say they, who's they?
The mayor and the manager.
Oh, okay.
So Vince Lupo and Mayor Tremblay. And when I even talked about this, is well, we're going to also add to this in front of Whiskey Joe's where that sandbar is. That's not part of this. There's a sandbar somewhere around Catches too, not part of this. And we can fix all that if we go redo this whole thing and do it all together. And I told them also that DMA site that's down there in the blue on the lower part, we had a specific consultant come down when they were looking at other things in the county They said the conditions, which again were 20 years old, that put in this thing when they first got this thing approved way back when, that DMA site could be worked better if you combine the soils that are in there with other soils. You can actually do something better than go to a Class 1 landfill, which will cut down their cost dramatically as well. So looking at someone who's looked at these things for 7 years with the BP, been to every single meeting, we got a responsibility to spend this money the right way. And I'm going to tell you, the people in the state will look at this to say it's not a good idea, just doing the 2 channels. The best idea is to actually try to work and get them all combined. So they're going to come back to us, they've already submitted to us, they're going to come back to us to look at not doing those 5 channels. I want to let you know ahead of time. I'd love to do your work, do your homework, do the research on this, check with our staff, because if they come back and they try to put this through, I at least want you to be fully informed before this takes a step further. It would be a travesty to let it go the way it is.
Let me ask you a question. You brought up a point earlier. You said they've stated that they want to get out of the CRA?
When they did their presentation, that was one of the thoughts about trying to help them that we talked about, helping them get on the CRA. They said they want to become self-sufficient a long time ago.
You mean to stop using the CRA money for
Well, yeah,
salaries of employees?
to become no longer being blighted. That was one of the arguments that came out.
No longer that, the whole city not be in the CRA? Or there are certain sections not being in the CRA? Carve out certain areas?
If we did 21 channels, they all had golf access, all of a sudden the values go up? That's what they said.
Well, so let's, yeah, so there's.
They haven't said it lately.
Okay.
I
What about?
do have a
can I-
question, too.
Yeah, let me.
Put
What
your
about,
backs to me so you can
what
see.
about the, okay, so if you look at the, where am I at here? So if you look at the road that comes up and goes to the point, the very point of where the river is, where there's some very, very nice homes along that area.
Oh, like.
Was that discussed about, your discussions about the CRA? Because that's gated and it's multi-million-dollar homes. So it's obviously not blighted and it's behind a gate. Did they bring that one up at all?
At this meeting, we did not talk about the CRA, we did not talk about that.
Because I don't know how you can legally have that within a CRA. It's behind a gate and multi-million-dollar homes.
I think it's probably all part of a good conversation we could have in the future.
Yeah. So anyways, I didn't know if that one was discussed. Well, I will. So I have plans on meeting with them. I've having some great meetings recently. We'll
We
talk
have a
about the
meeting
future
coming.
with Newport Richie, but I'll have those discussions down the road with everybody as a full board. But I'm just curious, since you brought up the CRA, if they brought up that one area behind the gates. Oh, okay. All right.
Question?
Commissioner Starkey.
Jack, Channel 14, 15, 16, well, let me ask you this. What will the residents be pitching in on towards the dredge?
They had made statements years ago that they would ask the residents to pay about $1,000 apiece. They've been afraid to go do that, but at the same time, they're also afraid to do the work without having the residents pay either. So they're gonna put themselves in a little bit of a
The
quandary.
residents need to pitch in. We
I'm
can't-
with you 1,000%, because we're gonna ask our residents to pitch in.
Yeah.
If we're gonna use BP money, that's part of leveraging.
Yeah.
They should want to. And I will tell you, there's a lot of residents that would. As a matter of fact, Channel 18, that's where Gildog is. He actually just got a quote on doing the dredging. He's actually willing to pay good money to go contribute as well. So again, that would be part of what I would suggest we do. Let's get to all the residents here as well. I think you'll find they'll all put $1,000. I think they'll see the value to it, and Gildogs will put even a much more substantial amount of money.
Because he wants to be able to have actual boats besides kayaks come in there, instead of
Sure.
kayaks come in there, right?
Yeah.
To pony up.
And he's willing to pony up.
And that would be good for the community.
He might even help, if it works out with the soils, if we test the soils out, he's got a site right across Channel 18 on the backside where he's got the old place where Kaiser was gonna go. If the DMA site can fit and take the soils, he could even take all that fill. It would save us money from hauling it over to the DMA site down there. So it
Where's
could be
that site
another-
at, Commissioner?
It's right where his back part of the canal is. Right across from the canal, there's an old post road, and then there's that site that's like about a
trailer
4-acre
park.
site. Commissioner, about 4-acre site?
Yeah.
But a 4-acre site, that you could take all,
19
you could almost take all that fill and put it there. If it environmentally tests out, you could put it right there too.
Can you build on top of that?
And you could build on top of that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That'll give them some more elevation for the
Exactly.
flood issues.
Yeah.
Well, keep
A
in
win-win.
mind, Commissioner Mariano was talking about these channels. Just to give you an idea, if you lived on one of these channels at low tide, you cannot use your
No,
boat.
you
It
can't.
is I mean, it's dry. So
you're right.
we talk about dredging and dredging being needed. I mean, these are worse than the canals, quite frankly, we're talking about by Gulf Harbors and up in Hudson. I mean, these you can't get out at low tide because there's barnacle beds, and there's no doubt that it would help drainage. I mean, positively, absolutely in this situation.
And then when you go out, you can't get back in because it's low tide.
I've got some pictures I'll send to you guys so you can see them as well, but this channel, if you look at where it says Quist Drive up there, Quist Drive, when we hit that hurricane, and I had called the governor up about trying to get it dredged, because we looked at what it would take to do the whole thing at one point, and I saw the things were all silted in. We took 4 truckloads of dirt out of that thing. But now, try to imagine taking all that out from just a little backhoe going over, everything around that, especially out toward the bayou, is still all silted in. It flows out better, it creates that much more storage, but it's still not going up nearly as quick as it could.
I'm just curious, like, where this red line is. I mean, you've got all these boats here that are small business owners, the shrimp boats. The one fishing boat can't even get out. He can't even get out at low tide here by the boat ramp and stuff. So this needs to be. You talk about economic development, tourism. I mean, that needs to be a priority so these folks can actually get out to go make a living and sell fresh shrimp and, you know, take folks fishing. Like I said, he can't even get out past Hooters at low tide.
And we can put all that into the new
But that
plan.
should be part of their
Absolutely.
plan. I don't know. And again, not to mention the sandbar, again, at the boat ramp. I thought the idea was to, and it'd be nice to incorporate this with the improvements they want to do at the boat ramp too. I mean,
It would be. I mean, we'd be happy to work with them, but let's put a whole plan together that makes sense.
So do they have to be the applicant?
Well, I tell you, as far as like the internal part here, maybe, we're actually having real estate take a look for channels 14 to 18 to find out the jurisdiction we actually have, because it was said that was deeded,
We
it
own
was like
some of
given to
17.
us. Said it was given to us, but we didn't accept it. So my question is, once I get that answer, is like, okay, if we didn't accept it, can we accept it? And now's the right time to go do it. So I'll have that answer hopefully shortly. Unless you've heard something already. I know you were.
Well, the one channel that looked at last week, there was a quitclaim deed, but the county never accepted maintenance.
Okay.
And we do not own, outside of that, do not own that channel.
Okay, so on the other marks too, if they were quitclaim too, we can take a look at that as well, but if that's the case, we can take a look at it. But again, this is a time for comprehensive thought. We're already in the process of doing everything on the Port Richey outfall, which is huge. Let's go finish the job, because the water can't get out. We're not getting the best bang for our buck from what we already spent.
and we want to be a team, work together, and again, I think.
This is an opportunity.
Yep, I agree.
Anything else, Commissioner?
That's all, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I just got a couple.
Real quick, I've got
Okay.
2 things, just, you can call me Catherine, you know, it's okay.
Okay.
Two
Okay.
things.
I gotta
That's fine.
take
Okay.
back my vote.
I'll come back to you.
I'll be,
Or you want to,
no, you go ahead, yeah, you're good. Just
You-
want to make sure, don't forget, because you're going to be getting adjourned, you know, so.
Yeah, we know
I want
that
to make
is.
sure you know, you go ahead.
Okay, I'll put it away.
Here, give that to me.
Take that, take that.
Okay, so the first thing I just want to, I don't know if we need to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, just to be safe, because I think we should make this more official. So the EDC has a policy committee. The appointee, obviously, for the EDC board is Vice Chairman Wells. We also now have an opportunity to put somebody on the policy committee. It cannot be a commissioner, because that's going to be a conflict, because you're looking at making policy that potentially we would vote on. So I would ask that we put Mr. Biles on there. I have already talked to Mr. Biles, he's more than willing to. So if we're all good with that, that gives us a seat at the table on the policy committee. I think it'd be nice to have the county, somebody from the county. So
Agreed.
can I just gotta get a motion to go ahead and do that?
So moved.
Have a motion, second, all in
Second.
favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. So that's done. I'll go quick. Oh, this is what we were talking about earlier. So as you know, the Florida legislature voted in 2018 to put our state on permanent daylight savings, but it still needs to be passed by Congress to make this go into effect. I know Senator Rubio and Scott have kind of led the charge. Obviously, Senator Scott, former governor, was the one that signed, I think, if I'm not correct, the bill when it actually went through the state. And then Senator Rubio has been pushing it quite a bit. I know I've been vocal on this, I think, even before I was on the commission. I was wondering if you would be willing to write a letter to Congress to say that we, as a Castle County Commission, would like to see daylight saving year-round. And help
I took,
push.
Yeah.
I took Senator Rubio's post and
Yeah, good,
shared it.
good. Oh, are we okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, like this morning, and again, it's not because of that, but, you know, daylight savings, a kid got hit crossing Moon Lake Road this morning on his bike, got killed.
Oh, no.
Going to school. And again, that's just an example of if it was daylight out, could have saved his life. And I don't know what happened, I don't know who was at fault, but it's tragic, obviously, and it's just, I agree with you, it'd be nice if it was daylight, it'd be a lot safer for the kids.
Yeah, so we're looking at daylight later in the evening.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So daylight saving would be later in the evening all year round. So we're on the same page?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion? I don't think I was, I write a letter, I'll sign it?
Authorize the chair to sign a letter.
Okay, let's make that a motion. Authorize the chair to sign a letter.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. Thank you. So we'll work on that, and we'll get that signed, sent to everybody in Congress. That'll be a lot of letters then, won't it? We'll may email those letters. Census Complete count, the first meeting of the Census Complete count, it was last week. Andy attended on my behalf. We have some good news. The Census Bureau has actually met the recruiting goals for Pasco County, which is awesome. So they'll be fully staffed for all the work and for the people to respond. There still are jurisdictions throughout the state that aren't fully staffed yet. So I commend our team here for getting that done. First week of postcards are going to arrive in the mail with a code to go online and take the census online. So now you're able to take the census online in addition to either doing it live or somebody coming to your actual, going somewhere or somebody coming to your house. So we want to shoot obviously for 100% participation because there's federal funds that depend on that for us. So, and our slogan for the census efforts is "Make Pasco Count." So let's make Pasco count, Commissioner Wells. Heritage Park mural and community garden. We have a photo. Do we have a photo up there we can show with that? So on February 15th, we had two great events at Heritage Park in Atlanta Lakes. The first was the unveiling of a mural next to the community garden. The community garden is pretty amazing, I will say. And the murals, as you can see there, there's the two students, one to my right and one between.
Well, that's Gus, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Gus. He came. It was funny. He was in town for the weekend and he showed up. He goes, "Hey," we're like, "Hey, good to see you." So he travels around
Nice.
the weekends a lot, goes to different events. So it was nice to see him there. So over the last few months, there was an art contest for people with special needs on what food for all means to them. And those are the drawings that they came up with, and they turned into a mural. Also, the artist Amy Nevins, which did a lot of the work on the other side of the wall, was there too. So, and let me see. Congratulations to Lucas Lingling, that's the gentleman's name, and his mom is a Pasco County employee. His mom is Patty Christ, and then Connor Laverty. And they're the ones that won the drawing. So, and again, Congressman Bill Arakis was there, the president of the Autism Society for Florida. She came to town from South Florida for the event. So great job for our entire staff. We don't have anything of the garden, pictures of the garden, do we, Andy? The garden? Well, no, don't, if it's not up there, don't worry about it. Okay. Okay, well, the gardens, if you haven't been there, it's pretty cool. And then the last thing is, I do want to thank you all for approving to waive the fees for the Relay for Life Concert for a Cure. Actually, I went there, coincidentally, was right after this event, so they had a successful event, and obviously in their fight to battle cancer. Thank you all again for waiving their fees, because they did have a great event. And with that, I will not adjourn, I will go back to Commissioner Wells.
Thank you. I meant to bring it up. So we did have our first event for Empowering Pasco's Veterans. I'm on that board with Mr. Corey.
Anybody in the audience have anything too? Because I see a lot of hands raising. Sorry about
Yeah.
that. Go ahead.
So we did raise for our first event. I thought it was pretty unbelievable. We raised over $30,000
Nice.
to help veterans, and the mission is to work with code to find violations that maybe a veteran has that we can help clean up and keep them in their house. So it was pretty exciting. So
That's very nice. Good job. 30,000 plus?
30,000, yeah. Thank you
Very
all
good.
that you all
Very
that
nice.
supported it.
Very nice. We got one more.
We
Commissioner
raised
Strickland?
that Saturday night for the Pasco Education Foundation in the auction, never mind the ticket sales. So just in the auction, 30-something. My husband jumped in with a boat trip there at the very end.
Oh.
Helped a little. I wanted to call your attention to an event we're putting on with the PDC called Growing Global. We did a couple of them a few years ago, and we're going to do it again. It will be over in Wesley Chapel at PHSE at the campus in the morning. And, okay, Jenny just sent it to me. This is the International Council that I am part of. So we will be having some really good speakers. We will have the General Counsel of Japan, and Manny Mencia, who I've met a number of times. He's the Senior VP of International Trade and Business Development with Enterprise Florida. He's a very engaging speaker. And we will have the U.S. Small Business Administration, the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, the U.S. Commercial Services, and Enterprise Florida there. And we want to help our Pasco County businesses learn how they can export. And most of their market is outside of the area, so this is really a great way for them to grow their business, to get grant money to do trade trips with professionals who will help them find their customers. And so we'll be having a flyer soon. I think I'm holding one right here, so we'll get it out to you guys. But what we would like you to do is to send it out to your email lists, or make sure you share it with businesses in your districts or friends that you think might be interested in coming to learn how to grow their business with international trade.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Mariano has something he forgot too. So what I'm going to do next, just so in the future, I think what we'll do is we'll leave it, if you miss it, we'll put a space on the website. I forgot to say something in public comment and put it on the website for all the public to see.
That's not fair. Listen, Commissioner Mariano and I don't normally do it. We're not going to call out anybody's name that normally does it. But
but you're at the end and I'm at the beginning.
And it was actually,
So-
Mr. Chairman.
I was having fun, but go ahead.
Y'all come to me last, I'll be better.
It was actually your brilliance of actually getting us to go, let you sign a letter to go support the daylight savings that triggered an idea. Maybe I didn't go far enough on what I did with the aquatic preserve, but I think if Mr. Bowles acknowledges that what I think is we need to go redo this map, do you want to ask them to just pull us out for a year so we can actually look at it, study it, and see what the effects will be? Has to get pulled out of it.
I will go to my fellow board members on that first.
Well, if the Gulf Harbor South Channel is not on there, I need them to pull it, because I need that to extend out the channel.
Okay. I mean, I'm kind of riding with you guys, because those are your districts and your coast. So.
Well, and
I don't know his.
And I got Westport, Sea Pines, and then the Sunwest as well that I'm scared of as well. And this will be harder. DEP says it will be hard to get anything approved after this point.
And they have that on record.
They acknowledge it, and they'll even give me the verbiage to it, as far as there was like two different terms. One was, I can't even tell you what the terms, I don't want to misstate it, but it will definitely be hard, they acknowledge that.
See, and I heard the opposite, and I know I spoke to your daughter, and I've spoken to several folks up there. I don't know what example it's going to make us if we pull out at this point. I do have concerns, but I don't know if it's the right thing to do for us to pull out.
Can we modify it if it's not right?
I've tried to modify every step of the way.
No, Commissioner Mariano's had to modify a lot.
I mean, and they've made concessions on what we try to do. But the bottom line is, right now, the way it's still set, if there's not restock money tied to this, everything we do is gonna get harder. As far as like approvals for anything from that Gulf Harbors channels, you try to add that in later on, if you try to add Westport in later on, Sea Pines, I mean, these are areas that need help. Never mind Sunwest could be a huge addition for the county. So the way they've got it set right now, I will tell you unequivocally, it will make it harder for us to get dredging done, period.
So let me ask you this question. I'm going to go to Mr. Biles in a second. So Senator Albritton was this sponsor on the Senate side. Have you had a conversation with the senator?
I have not, because he has said he's just carrying the bill for Senator Simpson. And I'm trying to get with, and I've talked with Senator Simpson, I just haven't talked to him today. But I'm trying to let him know that we're all afraid of this thing. So I don't know what's going to happen. He may have his own plan. I just haven't made the contact officially. But Senator Lee, I reached out to him, and that's what he said. Albert's carrying it because Senator Simpson had brought it to him, and I'm trying to get everything together. Amber voted against the bill. Representative Mariano voted against the bill when it was before the House, when she couldn't get what she wanted.
When's the Senate vote?
It could be today. I don't know. It's kind of crazy up there.
Yeah, I don't know. The House voted yesterday, and it was only one person voted against it at the House. So I'm not sure when it'll be calendared at the Senate.
And I feel confident in our senator to make the right decision. You know, again, I do have some concerns, but they assured me that this will not affect DEP, because my question was, you know, they've got the board, the state board that's gonna see some of these things, and they were like, only if it's a certain size will they see it. Otherwise, it'll be the same process, still has to go through DEP, still has to go through Army Corps, that won't change. That's what's, because I mean, I spent a lot of time on it too. I know you spent more, but, because I want to make sure I understand it, because I look at like Citrus County. Remember we had the gentleman come talk about the seagrasses in Citrus County? One of you had him come talk to us, and they got all kinds of grant funding, and I said, well, how is that? And they were already in the aquatic preserve, and that's why they were able to get that funding. So to me, I was like, well, okay, if we can get some funding like that, $1 million for, it could be from scallop seeding to grass to, then that's a positive thing, you know.
If it's not an existing channel that's listed, like Hudson Channel is now listed because they had mitigation. Leisure Beach Channel goes straight out, that's a dangerous hook to it.
Yep.
It's at the end, they want to straighten that out. That's going to make it hard to even straighten that out. Anything we do for dredging, you have no more mitigation because everything's now protected by the aquatic preserve anyway. How are you going to mitigate? I mean, and the level is higher when you're in that preserve compared to if you try to dredge it right now, compared to if you wait until you're in preserve. They make it a whole level higher, and I've got Colleen Weaver, my assistant, talked to people on St. Pete and Pinellas, and they said it's much harder to get any fresh work done is harder now because they're in aquatic preserve. And this is not something where I don't want you to think we're the only ones in the state that's not in it. There's a lot of pockets around this whole state that aren't part of an aquatic preserve. It's not like they laid it out to be where it's like, you're the only ones left.
No, I thought our 3 counties were it,
No,
on the west coast.
no, it's absolutely not. I checked the whole map out, they can see that now. There's many other places that aren't in it, like even all the panhandles not in it. So, I mean, we're being pushed into a group that I don't think is gonna benefit us long-term. That's why I've been working and fighting, and I will tell you, 7 o'clock in the morning before the House had their vote, I reached out to Representative Masula to try to get him to reach back to me before the vote was gonna go, so we talk about it in further detail, and I didn't get a phone call back until after the thing had passed.
So I would like to have a conversation with Ralph.
Go ahead and make your contacts, just let me just recommend you do it.
Hold on, I have it. Would you guys be willing to recess for 10 and re-adjourn in 10 minutes?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You guys good with that? All right, we're gonna recess for 10.
Okay.
Okay. So it looks like this is going to be voted on any second.
Mhm.
So there's really nothing we can do. Like when I say any second, like any second. They're
Like
on
I
the
said,
floor right now.
Today I
Yeah.
felt this was gonna be the day, but
Yeah.
you don't know.
Yeah, they're back in there. They're back on the floor right now. So it's up any second. There's Lily. We're too late to the ball game.
Well, we asked at the last meeting for Ralph to get the South Channel Gulf Harbors fixed, so hopefully he did that.
I can't answer that.
I can say this, I can send a text to 2 different senators here and just let them know what we said.
I've tried
If
to
you wanna
text
go
us
that way,
to.
if you don't, I appreciate it.
I just think the appropriate thing would be to do, if we were gonna do anything, would be writing a formal letter, not texting at the last second before it's
Well,
on the
then,
floor about to
if you
go to
wanna do
vote.
that-
If it hasn't, it might have been voted on just now for all I know.
Do they have to pull the 2, once the House is voted, Senate's House, do they come back to reconcile?
I don't think anybody's willing to make any amendments at this time.
I get that. Do they have to reconcile it later on?
If they were to make any amendments, it would have to go back to the House, and the House would have to vote on it again.
Mhm.
Because the Senate's carrying the House bill. So they're carrying the House bill, so if it goes to the Senate and they made any amendments, then it would have to go back to the House again
Mhm.
before it would come back to the Senate.
I mean, you could always just
Then
say.
then the whole thing could be dead because the whole thing could be dead because there may not be time to bring it back for the House and the Senate.
I mean, you could just do a quick thing about saying, please accept the map that Pasco County submitted, which would protect all our channels.
Wasn't that what was already done before?
We did it, but they didn't accept it. They didn't use our map. They brought it out from 19, they brought it out to the edges, some parts, but I was trying to get out to the edge of our channels, which will protect us.
Yeah, I mean, the Gulf Harbor South Channel is not included
Yeah. Okay, but I'm not,
in this map.
but you're not, we're not, okay, so you're not saying, hey, police killed the bill. You're saying, could you please consider?
use our map.
Could you please consider our map again?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a problem with asking them to consider the map again.
And I
But you, I mean, unless it's been, unless the last 4 or 5 minutes has been voted on. You know, I can't answer that.
No. But if it
So,
has, well,
I mean,
then
if
you-
you wanna shoot something to somebody real quick and say, please consider our maps again, I don't think there's a problem with considering the maps. But you can't, again, I don't know who you're gonna get it to
I'll
this
get it.
time, but.
I'll send it right to send this in to them and leave. So if the board says at least consider our maps, we can do that.
I haven't even seen the updated one. Ralph said he's sending me another updated one. I haven't seen it, but I think the one I have is not the updated one.
I wish I knew, because I don't know whether to say something or not, and I wish we had been sent the corrected map. I wish I knew South Channel's on, that's my beef. I got Key Vista's on there, right? That's where Key Vista, the channel is?
Yep.
Well, if somebody can
The North Channel,
quickly
but
email
that is
the
definitely
map
an
to show
error.
Commissioner Starkey, that would be helpful. If
Well,
anybody in
did
this
someone not ask
staff-
Ralph for it when we were in the meeting?
Well, I did, but, you know, I'm not sure where he is in trying to work issues for us. So, you know, he may not have it handy right this second. I think he's working to get it.
You know, when it says potential western shoreline boundary and then potential western island boundary, that seems to be the South Channel where it could still be done, from what I could tell. See how they kind of took it? They kind of took it out there. That's New Porici, which is that's the Porici Channel, and then they took it here and then out, so technically the South Channel. I would think that means we can do stuff in between the red or the green, or whatever the color that is.
I think it's the yellow line.
It just says western shoreline.
Is anybody getting a map to Commissioner Starkey?
And everything else is.
Can anybody answer that?
Every other channel's dead.
I'm waiting for Ralph. I mean, I can text you this, but I don't know how updated it is.
He
but
read it, he's
Yeah,
reading my text.
He's trying to get
He says
the
it was in
update
his last email.
Okay.
Okay, buried in my 5,000 emails, let me see if I can find
map.
it. When was that email? Does anyone know?
Like, he sent it to me like Friday. Doug Betko from Save Our Sandbar reached out to me, and I know he reached out to Representative Mariano, so.
Is that the 2020 session budget? No, that was yesterday. Information.
I text you what he sent me, but it's confusing, to say the least.
Okay, here's the nope. They still have Gulf Harbor South Channel out.
So George Thomas had taken something from the exteriors of all our channels, drew a line down with like coordinates, easy to mark, send it to them. You could always say, just please accept the Pasco County map. You can always adjust it later if they wanted to, but at least that protects us.
And I mean, really, it wasn't a ton we're asking for the channels. It's those 4 channels, really, you know, just to expand it out in case we need to dredge. Or
And I think they'd be
when we
fine
need
with
to
it.
dredge.
They just, I mean, because there's no seagrass in the channel.
I would be okay with that.
At this late moment, at least they have that. And they could.
So what is it that we're asking?
Okay, so Commissioner Wells said he's okay with that, Commissioner Starkey, then go ahead to explain again what you're
The
asking.
map that we drew, we took the edge of all our channels. So let's say Leisure Beach, Sea Pines, Gulf Harbors, the edge of those channels, we've made that the outside boundary.
Yeah,
Let them protect everything else to the west. I mean, yeah, to the west.
That's
and
better
just
than this.
keep it is. So if you just made that, that's an easy amendment to adopt.
so who are we telling that, asking that
So
to?
you're asking that to accept the Pasco County map, you're not asking to be pulled out, you're asking to set.
I'm fine with the map.
Well, I'm just saying, so
Yeah. No, I mean,
you just gotta get it to somebody quick.
Okay.
So all adjourned and you go.
All right, so everybody's good?
There's no vote to need, just do it.
Okay.
All right, we're adjourned.